Po, I married Xun'er, but she refuses to consummate the marriage. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76, Enlightenment, Promotion to Xun. My friend, this space wormhole has some problems temporarily and needs maintenance. In the central square of Tanya City, an old man in a blue robe said to Gu Fei respectfully. This old man was Luo Cheng, the ancestor of the Wu family in Tanya City. The five people opposite him were Gu Fei, Dao Yixian, King Lin, Xiao Yan, and the Lion King, who had transformed into a middle-aged man. It's a small problem. It will be fixed soon. Gu Fei nodded, and then looked at the center of the stone platform. There, a huge black hole of 10 feet was slowly rotating. A wave of amazing space power overflowed from it, but the current space power was slightly disordered. The next moment, the space around Gu Fei suddenly became distorted, and a majestic space power emerged, and then rushed into the space wormhole with a roar. This space wormhole has existed for many years, making the space mark between the two places a little blurred. To repair it, you only need to use the power of space to deepen the mark between the two places, and the problem can be solved. With Gu Fei's current Zong peak strength, it doesn't take too long to repair it. Alright. 10 minutes later, Gu Fei opened his eyes, and the chaotic space power coming from the space wormhole on the stone platform also slowly dissipated. Let's go. Gu Fei didn't say much, and directly led Yixian and others into the space wormhole. The figures of the five people disappeared instantly the moment they entered the space wormhole. Looking at the disappearing figures of Gu Fei and the other five, Luo Cheng smacked his lips and sighed. I don't know what force these people are from. I don't seem to have heard of such a young Zong master within 1,000 miles. Could it be that they are from Zongzhou? The moment they stepped into the space wormhole, Dao Yixian, King Lin and others' vision suddenly went dark, and their bodies suddenly felt weightless. Fortunately, this feeling quickly dissipated after a moment, and then, a strange space channel appeared in their sight. In front of them was a space channel with no end in sight. On both sides of the channel, there were faint silver space barriers, and inside the space wall was a channel of about 10 feet. At the end of the channel, there was a deep darkness. The entire channel seemed extremely dead silent, without the slightest sound. This place is so dark. Seeing this kind of space channel for the first time, Dao Yixian and King Lin were a little scared and followed Gu Fei closely. Even the purple crystal-winged Lion King was a little distracted at this moment. Don't be afraid, Gu Fei comforted him, and then took out a small wooden boat from the ring. As soon as this little thing appeared, it was like a fish entering the water, swelling up in the wind. In just a few blinks, it turned into a boat several feet long and wide in the astonished eyes of Yixian and the others. On the surface of the boat, a trace of light silver space power swam back and forth, looking extremely mysterious. Lion King, there is an energy input point at the bow. As long as you inject some qi there, you can make this spaceship fly in this space channel. Gu Fei instructed the Lion King, and then brought Dao Yixian and the other two to the ship. Yes, Master. The Lion King responded respectfully, and then came to the boat to inject his qi. Immediately, the whole ship trembled slightly, and finally, a thrust shot out from the stern. With a whoosh, the spaceship turned into a silver light, crossing the space as fast as lightning, and shot towards the darkness of nothingness. It takes more than 10 days to use the space wormhole to travel all the way to Zongzhou North City. Xiao Yan was somewhat active at first, and tried hard to practice. Her little face was very serious, and she closed her eyes to absorb qi. However, she couldn't sit still. After a few days, she couldn't hold on any longer, and began to talk to people everywhere when Gu Fei was not paying attention. King Lin, aren't you bored? No, I'm not bored. This kind of experience is something I never dared to think about before. At this moment, she harassed King Lin again. Listening to the voices of King Lin and Zi and talking over there, Gu Fei rubbed his eyebrows helplessly. After more than 10 days of boring days, everyone finally came to the end of the space channel and came to the north region of Zongzhou. Gu Fei had no intention of staying in the north region of Zongzhou. His next destination was to go to the central region of Zhangzhou, Luotian Gorge. There was a 7th-level transformed magic beast, the Sky Poison Scorpion Dragon Beast. Its magic core was the key to opening the poison pill method. Next, Gu Fei slowed down his journey a little. Every time he passed a space channel, he would find a city to rest for a day or two. After all, not everyone can get used to that kind of boredom. About 20 days later, Gu Fei and his party finally arrived at the edge of the north region of Zhangzhou and were about to enter the central region of Zhangzhou. At this point, Gu felt that after this period of accumulation, he had a deep foundation at the peak of Zhong and had the opportunity to break through to Zun. So he asked the Lion King to find a secluded place and planned to break through in seclusion. In the cave, Gu Fei opened the attribute panel. Host, Gu Fei, age, 17, cultivation, peak of 9-star Zhong, qualification, level 101, physical fitness, level 78, soul, early spiritual realm, skills, Great Flame Heart Sutra, Heavenly Elementary, fighting skills, Flame Devouring Cage, Earthly Advanced, Sun Finger, Earthly Intermediate, Heavenly Star Step, Earthly Advanced Body Skill, 5-Wheel Fire Method, Earthly Advanced Fighting Skill, Gather 5 different flames to advance to Heavenly Rank, Alchemy, 8th grade Early Stage, Fusion of Strange Fire, Sea Heart Flame, Blue Lotus Earth Heart Fire, Fallen Heart Flame, Emotion Value Accumulated, 46,950. Improve your cultivation. Looking at the accumulated emotion value during this period, Gu Fei spoke to the system. Congratulations, the host consumes 40,000 emotional points and provides a cultivation enlightenment. During the enlightenment, Gu felt that the threshold between him and Zun was infinitely shortened. 3 days later, a tremendous momentum came from the cave where he was in seclusion, and even the mountain where the cave was located was shaking suddenly. What a strong pressure, Brother Gu Fei, it seems to be stronger. Feeling this terrifying breath, Dao Yixian and King Lin suddenly felt a huge sense of oppression that made them unable to breathe. Zi Yan and Zi Jing Yi Lion King, who had higher cultivation, were not much better. Their faces were full of shock. They looked at the young figure that appeared in the sky, and their hearts were full of yearning. In the sky, Gu Fei stretched lazily, and his body skin suddenly squirmed at this moment. The bones in his body were also like complex machinery that had turned on the mechanism, and crisp bone friction and collision sounds were heard. Is this the power of Zun? The next moment, Gu Fei clenched his palm slightly, feeling the vast qi in his body like the sea, and couldn't help but be fascinated. This kind of power has a crazy temptation. Countless people have spent their entire lives trying to get this kind of power, but they can't reach it. The next moment, he stretched out his palm and suddenly clenched it. The space in front of him was actually twisted into a weird concave speed. If this grip was on the human body, even a Zhong strongman would probably have his body disintegrated into a pool of flesh and blood on the spot. Feeling this vast power that was enough to distort space with just a wave of his hand, a smile slowly appeared on Gu Fei's face. This realm, many people need to exhaust their entire lives to reach, but he has reached it when he was 17 years old. Chapter 77 Gu Yuan, how can Xun'er be so dishonest? Gu Fei's cultivation level broke through to Zun, and his aura continued to rise. The powerful aura spread out. In the void not far away, the space fluctuated imperceptibly for a moment, and then a white figure slowly emerged. I didn't expect that Master Gu Fei would break through Zun so smoothly this time. It seems that our Gu clan has successors and can continue to prosper. The old man in white robe stood in the void, feeling that Gu Fei's aura had become much stronger. He touched his beard on his chin and smiled. This old man was the elder of the Gu clan who was sent to protect Gu Fei. At this time, Gu Fei's perception ability was much stronger after breaking through Zun. He suddenly frowned, paused, and looked at the sky in the distance, vaguely aware of something. However, that strange feeling was gone in a moment. He wanted to sense it again, but he didn't sense anything, so he didn't think much about it. It turned out that the place where the old man in white robe stood just now was already empty, without any trace, and not a trace of aura was left. You are indeed the most outstanding person of the young generation. Even I was almost discovered. When the old man in white robes sensed the approach of the imperceptible perception, He quickly hid his figure and avoided Goof's detection. After Goof left, the old man in white robes stared at Goof's back and nodded with satisfaction. "Let's go, Goof." After the breakthrough, set off again with Xiao and others. This time, Goof's destination was Luotian Gorge, a dangerous place in Daniu. Although the journey was a bit long, Goof was not in a hurry at all. Now he has gradually enjoyed this slow-paced life. Along the way, watching the three girls chatting, eating and drinking, and occasionally stopping to enjoy the scenery, compared to continuous hard training, this kind of life is what Goof yearns for. Xian's strength is also not afraid of the poison in Xiaoyan's body. Therefore, on the streets of the city, she directly took Xiaoyan's arm and walked, and it seems that they get along very well. By some, this stuff looks pretty good. Xian looked at Xiaoyan with a pleading look, and then looked at Goof. It turned out that along the way, Xiaoyan saw that Xian was too extravagant and wanted to buy everything she saw, so she confiscated her storage ring. Xian's cultivation was obviously many levels higher than Xiaoyan, but she didn't dare to resist her, so she had to give it up weakly. "I can only buy this once today." Xiaoyan shook her head helplessly, not understanding why Xian's small belly could hold so many things and eat all day. "Okay." Seeing Xiaoyan nod, Xian immediately ran to the stall next to her excitedly and began to show off the delicacies on the stall. Seeing this scene, Goof and King Lin on the side couldn't help laughing. The transformed Lion King followed closely behind the four people. His eyes were calm, but he was always alert, doing his duty as a guard. 1 month later, deep in the ancient world. In the ancient hall, a large number of elders of the ancient clan gathered. Among them, the lowest cultivation level was half-saint. Clan leader, Goof broke through to the Xun realm a month ago, and elder of the ancient clan opened the topic. These old guys like to talk about young people the most, and Goof is the best among the younger generation, and he is always mentioned. Goof chose to go out for training this time, and he was able to break through so quickly. It's really good. This training speed is much faster than staying in the ancient world. That kid is worthy of being the first of the young generation. In this way, other young people can only look up to him. Some elders heard about Goof's breakthrough to Xun and began to praise Goof. "Goof, it's not bad." Above the first place, Gu Yuan moved his fingertips and was also full of smiles. "Goof's talent is really monstrous." Didn't Xun'er also go out for training? I wonder how she is. With her talent, she should have made great progress. At this time, an elder of the ancient clan suddenly asked a question. The air was silent for a moment. The smile on Gu Yuan's face was still there, but his eyes were more serious. He was waiting for the elder's response with great expectation. Xun'er was also very talented. She couldn't bear to concentrate on her cultivation in the ancient world, so she was not as good as Goof. What would be the result of her going out to practice this time? Xun'er. Since she went out, her cultivation has not made much progress. I heard before that Xun'er's cultivation is still at the Dwang stage. An elder who knew about it replied. The two elders who knew about it looked at each other and agreed. Half a month ago, I got the news that Xun'er seemed to have been helping the Xiao clan member to find a spiritual medicine that could restore soul power during this period, and basically did not practice. Alas, although Xun'er is also very talented, if she is not focused on practicing, no matter how good her talent is, it will be delayed. These words made Gu Yuan frown, and his original smile disappeared. Gu Yuan was in seclusion before, so he had not paid attention to the whereabouts of Goof and Xun'er. He just came out this time and learned the news. How can Xun'er be so unclean? Getting too close to that kind of person will only delay her own development. After a moment, Gu Yuan sighed heavily, flicked his sleeves, and shouted, "Pass the order, let Xun'er return to the tribe quickly. If she doesn't want to come back, tie her up." Here is a huge and vast stone platform, which is made of snow-white rocks. What is surprising is that this stone platform is actually 100 meters high, and it is supported by more than 10 giant stone pillars below it. The stone pillars support the stone platform, like a pillar supporting the sky. At first glance, it is majestic and spectacular. The space above this stone platform is also very different from other places. It seems particularly disordered and extremely distorted here, and there are some dark cracks spreading out faintly. Swoosh! At a certain moment, several silver rays flashed in this distorted space, and 5 figures emerged from it. The figures spit out by the distorted space were naturally Gu Fei and his 5 companions. After landing on the stone platform, Dao Yixian's eyes swept around, especially after seeing the towering stone platform. A hint of surprise appeared in her eyes. Is this the central region? Sure enough, it is worthy of being the center of the Qi continent. Even the wormhole transmission point is so grand. The eyes swept over the busy stone platform, and several people found many figures wearing alchemist robes. At a glance, there were about 20 alchemists. This place is worthy of being the Dan region. Alchemists who are quite rare in other places are not rare here. Chapter 78. Who are you? The one who takes your life. Arriving at Daniu, Gu Fei took Dao Yixian and several others to a nearby city to rest. He glanced at the map and saw that Luoshengjian was in the north. Even at the current speed, it would take only a few days to arrive. On the way to Luoshengjian, Gu Fei stayed in several nearby cities for a while. Gu Fei only had 3 kinds of strange fire, and the reward given by Tenhao Venerable before, the 5-wheel fire separation method, required the collection of 5 kinds of fire. Because, in order to collect the other 2 kinds of beast fire and enhance the power of the 5-wheel fire separation method, Gu Fei chose to stay here for a while. Daniu is worthy of being the center of Zhongzhou and even Qi continent. Everything here is much easier to find than outside. In the outside world, beast fire, which can only be seen briefly at auctions most of the time, Gu Fei only spent 1 day to find 2 kinds. Although it cost a lot, Gu Fei didn't care about those things outside of his body. His identity and background gave him the capital to squander. Brother Gu Fei, are you done? Dao Yixian looked at Gu Fei walking out of the room and asked with a smile. Well, we can set off. Gu Fei nodded. Call those 2 girls. The little medical fairy responded, and turned around and called Xiyan and Qinglin. Xiyan was holding a mouthful of pills at this time. Hearing this, she chewed slowly, responded vaguely, and then pulled Qinglin over. Brother Gu Fei, it's really boring in the space wormhole. Next, can we let the Lion King take us for a while? Xiyan hurried over, put her hands on Gu Fei's arm, and shook it. Gu Fei lowered his eyes and looked at Xiyan. She was looking at him innocently, her almond eyes blinking, and her pointed little tiger teeth were exposed. Seeing that Gu Fei didn't answer, Xiyan shook his arm again, and her voice became more and more charming. Brother Gu Fei, please. Xiyan has a begging emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. Gu Fei pinched his eyebrows and sighed helplessly. He was really curious about how Yixian could control this girl. After she acted like a spoiled child, even he couldn't help but give in. Okay, but you have to be obedient along the way. Xiyan has a pleasant emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. Thank you, Brother Gu Fei. Xiyan's eyes curved and she smiled widely. Gu Fei turned around and gave an order to the purple crystal-winged Lion King, and the Lion King retreated a little. In an open space, his figure flashed and immediately restored his huge body of the purple crystal-winged Lion King. Xiyan laughed happily and quickly climbed on the Lion King's back. Dao Yixian and Qinglin also walked in front of Gu Fei, and the 3 of them went up one after another. Luoshengjian is located in the north of Daniu, and the terrain there is extremely complex. Gu Fei and his group rode the purple crystal-winged Lion King to this place. He stood on a high place, looking into the distance with a calm look. In front of him was a vast rocky plain with no end in sight. On the plain, there were countless dark cracks. These cracks, like the ferocious mouth of a demon, emerged from the ground and extended to a distant place. The dark color made people feel a little chilled. On the plain, there were some extremely huge rocks. Some of these boulders looked like a stone mountain, emitting a dark color all over. In the sky, there was also some black mist lingering for years. These were all poisonous mists rising from the mountain stream. After years of accumulation, they almost covered the sky of this vast plain. Faced with such a dangerous place, Gu Fei did not walk on the ground, but still let the Lion King fly. In Luosheng Gorge, poisonous creatures were rampant, and even the energy of heaven and earth here was mixed with some poisonous gas. Ordinary strong men did not dare to practice here, nor did they dare to fly in the sky. However, Goof had a strange fire. When the energy of heaven and earth passed through the strange fire defense shield, the poisonous gas mixed in it automatically dissipated under the terrifying high temperature. Soon, the Lion King came to the depths of Luotian Gorge, where poisonous fog lingered, and the air was slightly fishy. If it was inhaled into the body, it would be quite troublesome, but fortunately, with Goof's protection, Xiao Yan, King Lin and others were safe. We are almost there. That is where our target is. After a few minutes, Goof shouted softly, asked the Lion King to stop, pointed forward, and looked back. Under the cover of the thick poisonous fog, a huge white stone fortress was looming. Just when the Lion King flew to the stone fortress, the land suddenly shook violently, and then a shocking dragon roar came from the stone fortress. The sound swept in like a gust of wind, shaking all the gravel on the ground away. This breath is actually the body of evil poison. Haha, I didn't expect that I would have such great luck today. The dragon roar resounded, and a loud laugh, like thunder, came from the stone fortress, and then spread like ripples. The laughter fell, and then, there was a sharp sound of breaking wind, and a blood-red figure flashed out of the stone fortress like lightning. A pair of huge dragon wings, 10 feet long, extended from behind the figure, and behind it, there was a blood-red scorpion tail more than 10 meters long, with a sharp cold light at the tip of the tail. Even the Lion King couldn't help but stiffen at this moment, and there was some fear in his huge pupils. This is the instinct of the monster. The figure opposite is much stronger than the Lion King, probably to the level of an 8-star zong. The blood-red figure floated in the sky, and the huge dragon wings behind it slowly flapped, bringing gusts of wind. However, except for the wings behind it and the sharp scorpion tail, this scorpion poison dragon beast is almost the same as an ordinary human, and its appearance is also extremely handsome, with a hint of evil charm. Don't panic, Goof said calmly, and after he cast a protective shield around the Lion King, he walked down the Lion King's back like a leisurely stroll, and in the air, he walked step by step to the front of the sky poison scorpion dragon beast. He did not restrain his own aura, but released it forcefully. As he approached step by step, Goof's momentum was also rising. Goof could see clearly that as he approached, a trace of fear gradually emerged in the eyes of the sky poison scorpion dragon beast. It was completely different from the arrogant look in front of the purple crystal-winged Lion King just now. The sky poison scorpion dragon beast has fear emotions, and the emotion value increases by 15, but he was used to being arrogant in Luotian Gorge. Even if the pressure from Goof was terrifying, he would never admit defeat and give in. Who is coming? Are you willing to give up the evil poison body after birth? This king will definitely give you a great gift. The sky poison scorpion dragon beast has fear and greed emotions, and the emotion value increases by 15. He looked at the little medical fairy behind Goof unconsciously, and greed flashed in his eyes. HMPH, seeing that the sky poison scorpion dragon beast was still determined to kill Xiao Yan, Goof snorted coldly, and the pressure from his body pressed down on the sky poison scorpion dragon beast like a tidal wave. The one who came to take your life. Chapter 79, Ancient Yang Fire Altar. The method of making poison pill. Is this person a Zun strongman? Feeling the strong sense of oppression emanating from Goof, the sky poison scorpion dragon beast broke out in a cold sweat. However, before he could make any move, the space around him suddenly solidified. Then, a cage composed of scorching flames completely blocked his surroundings. Squeak, squeak. In just a moment, the sky poison scorpion dragon beast felt a bursting sound on his skin. Senior, spare my life. I offended you by not recognizing you. I hope you will spare my life. Under the scorching of the strange fire prison, the sky poison scorpion dragon beast also understood the gap between himself and Goof, and hurriedly begged for mercy from Goof. Too late. Goof shook his head, and the range of the Earth-level advanced skill flame-devouring cage was reduced again. The flame prison mixed with 3 kinds of fused strange fire was not something that the sky poison scorpion dragon beast, who had the strength of a zong, could resist. Crackle. With a series of explosions and screams, the sky poison scorpion dragon beast in the cage suddenly turned into a 100-foot-long demon beast. Even after restoring its demon beast form, The sky poison scorpion dragon beast still could not escape the flame cage. At the same time, a rustling sound was heard at the edge of the sky, and a black line swept in like a wave. The poisonous gas that soared into the sky lingered on the black line, almost condensing into a huge and boundless poisonous cloud. All the poisonous beasts in Luotian Gorge are coming. Now Yixian glanced over there. There was no black line there, but a dense sea of poisonous beasts. The poisonous clouds condensed in the air were formed by the spewing of these poisonous beasts. At this moment, although there were countless poisonous beasts approaching this side, Dao Yixian, King Lin, Zhen and others were not afraid at all. Even the strongest sky poison scorpion dragon beast was easily suppressed by Gu Fei. Those poisonous beasts, no matter how many there were, could not cause any trouble. Senior, I am from the Scorpion Dragon clan. I hope you can spare my life. The sky poison scorpion dragon beast spoke in human language, continued to beg for mercy from Gu Fei, and introduced himself. Obviously, he wanted to use the Scorpion Dragon clan, a huge family of magic beasts, to scare Gu Fei away. The Scorpion Dragon clan. This backer is not that strong. Hearing this, Gu Fei couldn't help but reveal a hint of teasing on his face. In this world, basically no one can use his background to suppress him. After all, the ancient clan behind him is known as the first ancient race in public. Even the Soul clan showed weakness at this time and admitted that the ancient clan is the first ancient race. The leader is actually no match for that human. Is that human Xun'er? There were bursts of exclamations from the beasts in the distance. They also saw the battle here and saw their leader begging for mercy. Therefore, some intelligent ones are hesitant and dare not move forward at this moment, fearing to die. Some magic beasts that only have instincts, under the control of the sky scorpion magic dragon beast, only know to rush forward, and are not afraid of death at all. It's time to send you off. Gu Fei had no intention of making barbecue on the spot. Seeing that the sky poison scorpion dragon beast was almost cooked, he flashed and came to the top of the sky poison scorpion dragon beast, and then punched the sky poison scorpion dragon beast on the head. Under this punch, the sky poison scorpion dragon beast instantly lost all consciousness, and the vitality in its huge body also quickly disappeared. I don't know how the leader offended such a strong man, and he was killed. Among the poisonous beasts, a transformed yellow-clothed man's eyes flashed rapidly, and his thoughts turned rapidly. How dare you kill the leader? The Scorpion Dragon clan will not let you go. Among them, a strong man with a body as fat as a small hill was stunned for a moment, and finally came to his senses and roared at Gu Fei. Noisy, Gu Fei showed some impatience on his face, and clenched his palms over there, and a powerful space force crushed the fat strong man. Seeing this, the rest of the monsters fled in all directions. No monster dared to stay with these guys. They kept emphasizing the Scorpion Dragon clan. I'm afraid that when the Scorpion Dragon clan learns Gu Fei's true identity, they will not only not seek revenge, but will come with gifts to apologize and ask for forgiveness. The Master's strength is really terrifying. It's my honor to follow the Master. The Lion King looked at this scene and couldn't help but feel fortunate for the decision he made before. In the following time, Gu Fei directly used the strange fire to refine the body of the sky poison scorpion dragon beast. In the end, only a ball of blood and magic core remained. Now that the materials have been collected, it's time to open the poison pill method for Dao Yixian. However, to open the poison pill method, you still need to find a place where Yang fire is prosperous to increase its success rate. Gu Fei whispered. He remembered that the Yi family in Yekang had an ancient Yang fire altar. Great, Sister Yixian can finally get rid of the troubles of the evil poison body. Hearing this news, King Lin was very happy. Although she knew Dao Yixian earlier, but because of the evil poison, she couldn't be too close to Yixian like Zhen. Next, Gu Fei led a few people to the location marked on the map of Yekang. One day later, a huge dark green city appeared faintly in the eyes of Gu Fei and his party in the distant horizon. This city is located on a plain. Around the city is a lush forest, and a series of roads leading to the sky spread out from the forest. We're here. Looking at the city in the forest, Gu Fei asked the Lion King to fly directly into the city. Yekang, the ruler here is the Yi family, which was once prominent in Danyou. Of course, The current Yi family has lost its former glory, but even so, a lean camel is bigger than a horse. In Yeking, there is still no force that dares to challenge the authority of the Yi family. As the ruler of this city, the Yi family is entrenched in the most central area of the city. Within a kilometer, there are all Yi family manors, and ordinary people are prohibited from entering. The defense was also extremely strict. Of course, this level of strictness was only for ordinary strong men. Gu Fei rode on the purple crystal-winged Lion King and flew straight to the sky above the Yi family manor. Who is trespassing into my Yi family? Soon, many Huang and Zong strong men of the Yi family appeared in the sky to intercept. Don't panic, I came here just to borrow the Yi family's Yang Fire ancient altar. Looking at these people intercepting, Gu Fei explained very calmly, and at the same time, he no longer deliberately concealed his aura. The momentum of the Zun strongman shocked every member of the Yi family. Yi Zong has surprised and excited emotions, and the emotion value increases by 30. Yi Zinlin has surprised emotions, and the emotion value increases by 50. I didn't expect that there would be such a young Zun strong man. An old man in green came to the air and looked at Gu Fei with surprise in his eyes. Through the reminder of the emotion value, Gu Fei knew that this person was Yi Zong, the elder of the Yi family. Senior, you also know that the ancient Yang Fire altar of my Yi family is never lent out, Yi Zong said in a rather gentle tone. Chapter 80, Little Medical Fairy, I'm ready. Come on, don't worry, I won't use you for nothing. I will give you some compensation later, Gu Fei said bluntly. If your Yi family encounters any trouble in the future, I can help you once. Such a condition is almost irresistible to the current Yi family. Senior, please follow me. After receiving the promise of a Zun strongman, Yi Zong immediately showed his courage and agreed to lend the Yanguo ancient altar to Gu Fei. Next, Yi Zong personally led Gu Fei and his party to the depths of the Yi family. About 10 minutes later, a very remote gravel square appeared in front of them. In the center of the square, there was an altar that looked a little old. The huge stones used to build the altar were all covered with traces of time. Obviously, this altar has existed for a long time. Gu Fei approached the altar and found that the light here was particularly bright, and the closer he got to the altar, the hotter and purer the energy between the surrounding heaven and earth became. Beams of light that seemed to be real poured down from the sky. Yes, it is indeed a good place. Gu Fei nodded with great satisfaction, then he turned his head and said to the little medical fairy behind him, "Enter the altar." Hearing this, the little medical fairy nodded, touched the ground with her toes, and landed lightly in the altar. The rich yang energy around her made her frown slightly, feeling a little uncomfortable. "You wait outside." Then, Gu Fei dismissed the others and stepped into the altar himself. The little medical fairy sat cross-legged in the center of the altar, her upper body straight, her slender neck and waist outlined a moving curve. Gu Fei also came to sit beside her, then stretched out his palm and gently pushed the black stone tablet. Ka-ka! The stone tablet was pushed open, as if something was activated, and the stone walls around the altar moved slowly. After a while, a circular stone wall was formed, surrounding the altar and Gu Fei and Xiao Yan. From the outside, one could only see a tall and ancient stone wall. The sunlight gathered, and the yang energy in the altar became more and more dense. In the end, it directly formed yang fire, and the burning sensation made Xiao Yan frown slightly. "Don't be nervous." Looking at Xiao Yan holding her jade hand tightly, Gu Fei smiled and comforted her. The next moment, a crystal core filled with violent energy appeared in front of him. This was the magic core of the poisonous scorpion dragon beast. "Take off your clothes, I'm going to start condensing poison pills for you," Gu Fei said calmly. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's face couldn't help but flush, but seeing Gu Fei's serious look, she knew she shouldn't be hypocritical. The jade hand gently untied the dress, and the dress slid down along the delicate white skin, and a perfect body like mutton fat jade was exposed to the scorching sun. When Xiao Yan's perfect body was exposed naked in front of him, Gu Fei's eyes could not help but flicker. "Brother Gu Fei, come on, I'm ready." Xiao Yan closed her eyes and said softly, and her originally fair skin was gradually filled with a layer of light pink. When Gu Fei's palm touched her smooth skin, the warm current made Xiao Yan's body tremble. This funny touch also made Gu Fei enjoy it for a moment. However, Gu Fei did not continue to let the charming idea continue. With a thought, he began to mobilize the strange fire to enter Xiao Yan's body. The countless flames formed by the fusion of the three kinds of strange fire began to drive away the gray poisonous gas that permeated Xiao Yan's body, and the poisonous gas quickly dissipated. Under Gu Fei's conscious control, all the poisonous gas was gathered at Xiao Yan's lower abdomen. The poisonous gas has gathered. Take it with the magic core and transform it with body. Feeling the poisonous gas gathered together, Gu Fei grabbed the crystal core of the poisonous scorpion dragon beast and slapped it on the lower abdomen of Xiao Yan. Then, Gu Fei slightly bent his palm, and a suction force directly sucked the ball of body saliva in the jade box beside him. In the calcination of the flame, the body saliva gradually dropped a lot of emerald green dust precipitation from it. This dust fell slowly, but did not completely separate from the ball of body saliva. Instead, it continued to condense at the bottom of it, and in the blink of an eye, it formed an emerald green bead that was less than the size of a thumb. Gu Fei was not surprised by this bead. He put the bead away, and then pressed the refined body saliva on Xiao Yan's abdomen. Under the infiltration of the body saliva, Xiao Yan's meridians and muscles, which had lost some vitality due to the poisonous gas before, actually regained vitality again, and the richness of that vitality was even better than before. After all, Xiao Yan's current evil poison body is still in the early stages, and it is not difficult to control, so the process is very smooth. With Xiao Yan's efforts, all the poison in her body was absorbed into the poison pill. Once the poison pill condenses, the evil poison body will be completely under Xiao Yan's control in the future, and there will be no more explosions. Everything is done. Xiao Yan, from now on, the evil poison body will have no disadvantages. Gu Fei moved his hands away from Xiao Yan's skin and said with a smile on his face, "Yeah." Xiao Yan responded. Her voice was very tender. Her naked body, at this moment, was like warm jade, slowly emitting a faint luster. From a distance, she looked like a fairy in the sky, with a sense of holiness. "Brother Gu Fei, thank you," Xiao Yan said gratefully, and then slowly turned around. At this moment, her pink and smooth skin, as well as the snow-white arc scenery in front of her, were exposed to Gu Fei's eyes. Gu Fei is not a saint. Facing such a perfect body, the fire in his heart seems to be a little bit out of control. In addition, after spending some time together, the two of them already have a foundation of feelings beyond friendship. After staring at each other for a while, their bodies were tightly pressed together. Queen Medusa feels ashamed and angry, and the emotional value is increased by 100. Just when Gu Fei was already confused, a system prompt sound suddenly appeared. "Oh no, how could I forget this?" Hearing the prompt, Gu Fei, who was already hugging Xiao Yan tightly, quickly turned his head and looked behind him. In his sight, the colorful little snake that had been staying in the cuffs had now crawled to the edge of the altar, with its back to him and Xiao Yan. "Brother Gu Fei." At this moment, Xiao Yan's cold little hands wandered on Gu Fei's body, making Gu Fei completely forget the embarrassment at the moment. The two of them were tightly entangled together. Chapter 81. Xun'er, is the gap between him and me so big? Jiama Imperial Capital. These days, Jiama Imperial Capital is very lively. The Alchemist Conference, which is held only once every few years, has attracted countless spectators. This confrontation between alchemists really attracted everyone's attention. However, the final result of the Alchemist Conference made many people in the Jiama Empire dissatisfied and even very angry, because the first place winner of the conference was actually an alchemist from the Izumo Empire. Such a result made the people of the Jiama Empire Alchemist Guild feel extremely embarrassed, and the morale in the empire was greatly frustrated. Because the Jiama Empire and the Izumo Empire have always been hostile countries, there have been constant wars between the two countries, and frictions often occur. At present, at the Alchemist Conference held in the imperial capital of the Jiama Empire, the first place was actually taken away by people from the enemy country. How ridiculous! At night after the conference, the lights in the room of an inn in the imperial capital were turned on, but there was no sounds for a long time. At this time, Yan was alone in the room, frowning and looking a little depressed. There are always people who are better than you, and there are always better people who are better than you. A girl younger than me actually has such a talent for alchemy. Yan sighed in his heart. He also participated in this conference, but he only won the third place. The second place was Princess Yao. Yan did not react much to losing to the alchemist of the Xiao Empire. After all, the guy's real age was already very old. However, Princess Yao's strength made Yan doubt his alchemy talent that he had always been proud of. Knock knock. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door of the room. Yan cleared his throat, and the frustrated expression on his face was hidden. He said, "Come in." A delicate hand slowly pushed open the door, and a familiar figure walked in. Seeing that familiar and cute face, Yan felt relieved and smiled. It turned out that the person was Xun'er. "Brother Yan, how were your grades today?" Xun'er came over, sat down beside Yan, and asked with a smile. Third, the alchemist who hid his identity in the Xiao Empire is indeed powerful, but I didn't expect that the little girl trained by the Xun'er royal family actually has such powerful alchemy skills. Could it be that Guf's casual guidance is really so powerful? Yan touched his nose and said a little depressed. When he came to the imperial capital, he heard that Princess Yao had received guidance from an alchemist named Gu Fei, but he didn't take it seriously at the time. After all, he had only heard of the name Gu Fei not long ago, and he was not a famous senior. But today, Princess Yao's alchemy skills far exceeded his expectations. If only the alchemist from the Xiao Empire beat him, it would be understandable, but he has been practicing with Yao for so long, how could he not be better than Princess Yao, or Gu Fei behind Princess Yao? At this time, Yan didn't know the specific identity of Gu Fei. He only heard that Gu Fei was a very talented teenager who appeared in the imperial capital a few months ago with a 6th-level flying monster as a mount, which caused quite a stir. He didn't know that Gu Fei's ability in refining medicine was so strong. Gu Fei. Hearing Yan's words, Xun'er's eyes moved and her breathing stagnated. She was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said softly, "If it was Gu Fei who taught it personally, it would not be surprising." Xun'er knew Gu Fei's ability in refining medicine. At that time in the ancient world, he was already a 7th-grade alchemist. In terms of attainments and talent in refining medicine, Gu Fei could be among the best in the entire ancient world. Not to mention just in a mere Xiao Empire. "Do you know him?" Yan listened to the tone in Xun'er's words and couldn't help asking doubtfully. "I know him, but I'm not very familiar with him." Hearing Yan's question, Xun'er's body stiffened, and then she chose to fool around without saying anything. She subconsciously didn't want Yan to know that she had been married once. But seeing that Yan's eyes were still full of doubts, Xun'er was not panicked, but thought of a way to change the subject. She took something out of her ring and spread her palm in front of Yan. A spiritual medicine with a faint spiritual fluctuation quietly bloomed a faint blue flower, and the petals were faintly shiny. This was another spiritual medicine that Xun'er found that could restore soul power after she learned that the 7 illusions green spirit saliva had been taken away by Gu Fei. Yan's attention was finally diverted, and his eyes fell on this spiritual medicine. Xun'er smiled sweetly and said, "Brother Yan, this is a spiritual medicine that can restore soul power." Yan's eyes were shocked. Xun'er put it directly in his hand, and his eyes moved, and he was very grateful in his heart. "Xun'er, thank you, Brother Yan. As long as Xun'er can help you, it's enough." Yan put away the spiritual medicine, and the two smiled at each other, and emotions flowed quietly in their eyes. Suddenly, there was a fluctuation in the space in the room. Xun'er's eyes condensed. "Elder Nanhai." She quickly turned her head and looked, and what came into her eyes was a familiar old face. Xun'er stood up nervously, trying to block Yan behind her without making a sound. She knew that most of the elders of the ancient clan disliked Xiao Yan. Could it be that he suddenly came this time to At this time, Yan behind Xun'er was at a loss, because the old man who suddenly appeared gave him too much pressure. It felt like if the other party wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. "Xun'er, come back with me." The elder of the ancient clan glanced at Yan with his old eyes, then fell on Xun'er, and said meaningfully, "I won't go back." Hearing the words of persuading her to go back again, Xun'er frowned and refused without hesitation. She had just met Yan not long ago, so of course she was reluctant to part so soon. Hearing this, The elder of the ancient clan frowned and glanced at Xiao Yan behind her. Xun'er, you left the ancient clan and your cultivation level has not improved at all. Did you know that Gu Fei has already broken through to the Xun realm less than a year after leaving the ancient clan? Your performance has really disappointed the clan leader and the elders in the clan. If it weren't for your slow progress in cultivation, we wouldn't have resorted to such a desperate measure to take you back. The elder sighed in a disappointed tone. Gu Fei has broken through to the Xun realm? Hearing the elder words, Xun'er was stunned. It took her a long time to react, and her face was full of surprise. Obviously, Gu Fei's cultivation level progressed so fast that it was far beyond her expectations. Has the gap between me and him become so big without her realizing it? Xun'er lowered her eyes, and her mind unconsciously recalled some things that happened in the ancient realm. Her face was inadvertently bitter, her pearly teeth bit her rosy lower lip, and her fingertips pinched her palm unconsciously. However, she quickly recovered, her eyes regained calmness, and she thought of her brother Xiao Yan behind her, and wanted to plead for mercy. Elder Nanhai, Xun'er is not lazy. She will definitely work hard to cultivate in the future. Can you give me some more time? She pleaded with her eyes and frowned. Is Gu Fei a Xun who is stronger than a Zhang? On the side, Xiao Yan was also shocked when he heard the conversation between Xun'er and Gu Nanhai. In the Jiama Empire, Huang and even Duang were hard to find. The Xun realm, for him now, was like a legend that was out of reach. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82 Ziyan. Did you do something bad to Sister Xiao Yan? This time, the clan leader has given the order, and we will take you back even if we have to tie you up. Facing Xun'er's plea, the elder was very serious. He shook his head at first, and then flashed and appeared beside Xun'er, separating her from Xiao Yan. Xun'er wanted to struggle, but was caught by the elder. Xiao Yan just blinked, and the room was empty. Xiao Yan, who was standing aside, didn't even dare to think of stopping her. He could only hold back his fear and watch Xun'er's last look at him. The old man just now was too scary. Xun'er, I'm sorry. Xiao Yan didn't react until a long time after Xun'er left. It's all my fault for being so cowardly. He shook his head violently, secretly hating his lack of strength. He clenched his fists, his eyes were firm, and he made up his mind to go to Xun'er's family to find Xun'er in the future. However, when he thought of the strength of Xun'er's family, he became a little discouraged. Just now, it was just an elder who didn't deliberately release pressure, but he was already frozen in place, and this was the result of Xun'er protecting him. Such a powerful family. Is it really something I can get in touch with? Xiao Yan laughed bitterly and said self-deprecatingly. In fact, if Xiao Yan had the cultivation of Zhong at this moment, he might still have confidence. It's a pity that he is too weak now, and it's a little too early to know this. This greatly hit his confidence, and Xiao Yan couldn't help but retreat in his heart. Alas, let's wake up the teacher first. After a long time, Xiao Yan sighed and took out the elixir that Xun'er brought. Anyway, Xun'er was taken back by her clansmen, so there would be no danger for the time being. Yakang. On the ancient Yanguo altar, Gu Fei gathered up the hair on Xiao Yixian's temples and said softly, "How do you feel?" Xiao Yixian has a hard throb emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. She felt Gu Fei's thoughtfulness, and her cheeks flushed again. She said softly, It's no longer a big deal." Although Xiao Yixian felt very shy, she still leaned on Gu Fei's shoulder. The two hugged each other, their breaths intertwined, their heartbeats gradually synchronized, and they quietly felt the fusion of their souls. This time, Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian were truly united. The relationship between the two was no longer a friendship, but a lover. Even the ignorant Ziyan and King Lin could see that something was wrong. Although they didn't say it explicitly, the two had clearly broken through the ambiguous distance of friendship. Xiao Yixian's subconsciously dependent eyes and Gu Fei's patient care all made Ziyan and King Lin more or less see it. One day, several people were chatting in the room. Ziyan sat down lazily beside Gu Fei, almost lying on the table. She turned her head to look at Gu Fei, and saw that Gu Fei was combing Xiaoyan's long hair with his eyes lowered. The curiosity in her heart was about to overflow. Xiaoyan has a curious emotion, and the emotion value is increased by 100. Brother Gu Fei, did you and Xiaoyan have something happened in the altar before? Xiaoyan narrowed her eyes and smiled, looking innocent, but the question she asked was a bit shocking. Who would ask so directly? Her eyes fell directly on the hands of Xiaoyan and Gu Fei after the combing was completed, and her eyes were burning. Hearing this, before Gu Fei answered, Xiaoyan sat up a little straighter. Her cheeks had already turned red, her lips were timid for a long time and she couldn't say a word. Her eyes were erratic. Why do children ask these questions? Gu Fei smiled helplessly, and pinched Xiaoyan's hand to comfort her. The scorching temperature made Xiaoyan's face even redder. He raised his other hand and knocked Xiaoyan's forehead as punishment, making a crisp sound. With Xiaoyan's cry of pain, the topic ended. King Lin has a curious emotion, and the emotion value increases by 70. King Lin's personality is more introverted. Although she didn't ask directly like Xiaoyan, her curious eyes also fell on them. Gu Fei laughed. Why are these two girls so gossipy? After a few days of playing and fighting, seeing that Xiaoyan had adapted well and there were no other problems left, Gu Fei prepared to leave. Then, before leaving, Gu Fei gave the Yi family a jade slip. This is a space jade slip. In the future, as long as the Yi family needs Gu Fei to take action, they can summon Gu Fei after crushing it. Thank you, Senior. Take care. After Gu Fei finished talking about its use, Yizong and the others were full of gratitude in their eyes, and respectfully sent Gu Fei and his group away. After solving the disadvantages of Xiaoyan's evil poison body, Gu Fei's behavior in Zhongzhou seemed to be more leisurely. After all, at the Zun realm, his body is constantly absorbing qi. Therefore, there is no need to worry that a moment of laxity will affect his cultivation. One day, Gu Fei suddenly remembered the soul of the Sky Fire Venerable sealed in the ring. This is already Zhongzhou. Gu Fei unsealed the seal, and the soul of the Sky Fire Venerable appeared, and he said loudly, "Thank you, my friend." Seeing the situation outside, the Sky Fire Venerable glanced over, his eyes full of joy. Then, his eyes fell on Gu Fei, his eyes full of surprise. The Sky Fire Venerable has an emotion of surprise, and the emotion value increases by 50. The Sky Fire Venerable did not expect that in just a few months, Gu Fei's realm has actually risen from Zong to Zun. This kind of talent is a monster. My friend's cultivation talent is really the only one I have ever seen in my life, the Sky Fire Venerable exclaimed. Then, he hesitated for a moment, and said hesitantly, "My friend, I see that your soul power is obviously beyond that of normal people, and you have mastered the strange fire. You must be an alchemist, right?" Gu Fei nodded, and he had already guessed in his mind about his sudden question. "I have an unwelcome request. I hope that you can help me refine a body. A scroll of fighting skills is just for me to bring you out. It is not enough to refine a body." Gu Fei smiled and shook his head. "If you are willing to help me restore my body, I am willing to do whatever you say in the future." Venerable Skyfire requested. In order to reshape his body, he really risked his life. Moreover, it was not shameful for Venerable Skyfire to obey Gu Fei. In the original work, Yan was too weak, and even if he took the initiative to ask him to be a bodyguard, he was very reluctant, and finally set a short time limit. Gu Fei, at a young age, had already reached the level of Zun, and had unlimited potential in the future. It was possible for him to become a Cheng. Venerable Skyfire would not feel embarrassed to obey him. Gu Fei looked at Venerable Skyfire and hesitated for a moment. After all, with his status, he did not need any followers at all. Just talking about the elders of his ancient clan, they were all powerful. However, considering that he might have to act alone sometimes during this training trip, it seemed not bad to find a strong bodyguard for Xiao and King Lin. So, Gu Fei looked at Venerable Skyfire's uneasy expression and did not hesitate. He nodded and agreed. Chapter 83 Yan. Goodbye, I will miss you. The Skyfire Venerable feels grateful, and his emotion value increases by 60. Thank you very much, my friend. After my body is restored, if you have any instructions, just tell me. The Skyfire Venerable's eyes lit up, and he looked at Gu Fei with gratitude. But the hesitant look on Gu Fei's face made the Skyfire Venerable a little unsure of what he meant. "My friend, is there anything wrong?" "Nothing. I just want to revive you, but I'm still short of some necessities." Gu Fei shook his head gently. Although he had promised the Skyfire Venerable to help him reshape his body, at least in the short term, Gu Fei could not revive him, because, although Gu Fei did not lack the elixir and magic beast essence for refining the body, he did not have the habit of carrying human corpses with him. "It doesn't matter, I have waited for so many years, I don't mind waiting a little longer." The Skyfire Venerable was relieved. He believed that people like Gu Fei would not easily break their promises. So, the Skyfire Venerable's soul temporarily returned to the ring, and when there was a human body suitable for him, Gu Fei would start to help him restore his body. This time, after finally solving the hidden danger of Xian's poisonous body, Gu Fei's next focus was still on collecting and refining strange fires. He carefully recalled the original work and found that the only known strange fire that had never been refined by anyone seemed to be the 3000 Flames fire imprisoned in Danta. The 3000 Flames fire was trapped in the Danta star field and had not been refined by anyone, and there was a chance for everyone to try it. However, this opportunity required first getting into the so-called top 10 of the Alchemy Conference. The top 10 of the Alchemy Conference was not a difficult task for Gu Fei, but now, there were still several years before the Alchemy Conference, and Gu Fei would naturally not wait until then to go. Any rules can be broken, as long as there is enough strength. After a moment, Gu Fei made a decision in his heart and planned to go to the alchemy domain to try. Danta stipulated that only the top 10 of the alchemy conference had the opportunity to try to subdue the 3000 Flames fire, but as long as he could offer enough benefits, Danta might make an exception and let him, an outsider, try it. Dan Tower stands in Shangdan City, which is the center of the entire Zhangzhou. Gu Fei is now in Danyou, so it is not troublesome. Along the way, most of the time it was relatively stable, but not absolutely. One day later in the evening, Gu Fei and his party had a conflict with a certain force in Danyou. "Kill that magic beast for me, kill the male, and keep the female to warm my bed." Opposite Gu Fei, there are 3 other flying magic beasts. The leader is a young man in his 20s. At this moment, the young man is looking at Gu Fei and his party with a joking look. The 2 old men beside him also showed a cruel smile. It is not surprising to have a 6th-level flying magic beast in this Danyou. The people on the opposite side don't seem to take Gu Fei and his party seriously. "Just yesterday I was still worried about not having a corpse to use. You delivered it in time." Listening to the words of the people on the opposite side, Gu Fei's eyes also showed a hint of murderous intent. When he flipped his palm, except for the young man and the 2 old men beside him, all the others were shattered. "What?" Seeing this horrifying scene, the young man's face turned pale with fear. Among those who died, there was a Zong who was killed without any warning. "Old Li, Old Wang, you must protect me." The young man quickly hid behind the 2 old men. The 2 old men were 7-star Zong and 8-star Zong respectively. At this moment, they were also a little timid because Gu Fei's attack just now made them feel great pressure. "Senior, we are confused. I hope you will forgive me for my mistakes." One of them lowered his head and said in a trembling voice. The young man didn't expect that he would hit a wall this time. Even the 2 elders couldn't save him. "Too late," Gu Fei said coldly. If he didn't have enough strength, he would be the one to die. Therefore, Gu Fei would not be soft on these people. In a breath, the young man and the 2 Zong were all killed by Gu Fei. Among them, the body of the old man who had reached the 8-star Zong was left by Gu Fei, intending to use this body to revive the Skyfire Venerable. Seeing this scene, Dao Yixian, King Lin and others did not feel much. If they were in their place, if they had enough strength, they would also kill like Gu Fei. After all, they also heard what these people said just now. If they were not strong enough, they would definitely end up in a miserable situation if they fell into their hands. "Let's go." Then, Gu found a place nearby, took out the elixir, several bottles of magic beast essence blood and the corpse, and released the soul of the Skyfire Venerable from the ring. "Mr. Yao, give me a trace of soul power," Gu said calmly. Although he had never tried it before, he had strong confidence that he could successfully perform this resurrection method. Hearing this, The Sky Fire Venerable did not hesitate at all. A trace of soul power immediately separated from his brows and floated towards Gu Fei. Grabbing this wisp of soul power, Gu Fei casually threw it into the corpse. Then he threw a pill in his hand to the Sky Fire Venerable. "Take it, and when I say something, you will enter the body immediately." The Sky Fire Venerable nodded solemnly, and without hesitation, he stuffed the pill directly into his mouth, his eyes flashing with excitement. Next, Gu Fei began to temper the body with strange fire, and added some magic beast essence and blood to make the body full of energy. With the integration of those magic beast essence and blood, the corpse gradually became full of vitality. "Mr. Yao, come in," Gu Fei shouted when the body's vitality reached its peak. The Sky Fire Venerable, who had been waiting for a long time, heard Gu Fei shout, and his whole body shuddered, and then his figure opened up and rushed directly to the corpse. Entering this body, the Sky Fire Venerable felt that his whole body was burning hot, and he should have cried out in pain, but he laughed happily in his heart. After opening his eyes again, Venerable Sky Fire felt that he was really alive, no longer an illusory soul. However, this time when he was resurrected, his strength did not reach the peak of the past. He was only a 2-starred Xun. It would take several years to be promoted to the state of the past. Venerable Sky Fire felt grateful, and his emotion value increased by 50. "I don't need to thank you for your kindness. From now on, I will follow your lead." The long-lost feeling made Venerable Sky Fire burst into tears. Then, there was another person traveling with Gu Fei. Although Venerable Sky Fire was not talkative, he was also infected by the lively atmosphere. One day, Yan, who was chewing a handful of pills in her mouth, suddenly froze and her expression suddenly became a little strange. After Yan noticed it, she asked, "Yan, are you worried about something?" "Sister Yan, I seem to have sensed a breath connected to my blood," Yan said in a daze, her eyes slowly looking in the direction of the faint breath. Chapter 84. Xun'er's vision is really poor. Here, it was a dark space without any mountains, rocks, or trees. What existed was only the terrifying gale that could blow away a person's soul, and the space turbulence that could crush ordinary Xun strongmen. In the center of the space turbulence and the terrifying gale, there was a purple behemoth with a body size of several hundred feet. The space turbulence that could crush Xun strongmen did not cause any damage to this behemoth. The body of this behemoth seemed to be tempered in this desperate place, and its body became stronger and stronger. At a certain moment, the behemoth entrenched in the space turbulence suddenly turned its huge head, and the pupils as big as a small hill flashed with a faint purple light. Its full appearance was actually a purple dragon, with scales all over its body that were dozens of times harder than steel. "This is the breath of the royal bloodline." The purple dragon suddenly felt the breath of the royal bloodline that it had been searching for. It looked in a certain direction, opened its mouth, and made an excited human voice. Connected to Yan's bloodline. Could it be that the people of the Taixu ancient dragon clan have come? At this time, on the back of the Lion King, Gu Fei heard Yan's words, and his mind turned, and he immediately guessed an answer. In the original book, Yan was also sensed by the people of the Taixu ancient dragon clan and brought back to the ancient dragon clan shortly after she came to the central region. However, Gu Fei was not sure whether the Taixu ancient dragon clan that appeared this time was an enemy or a friend. After all, the ancient dragon clan had been in chaos since the disappearance of the old dragon emperor, and had split into 4 parts. Among them, the 3 dragon kings of the west, south, and north all had greedy ideas and wanted to become the only king and unify the dragon clan. Only a few elders and clansmen of the East Dragon Island have always been loyal to the royal bloodline and still want to find the royal bloodline unremittingly. "Sister Yan, is that true? Does that mean that there are people from your tribe nearby?" King Lin asked after hearing her words. Although King Lin looked older than Yan, and when they stood together, they looked like an elder sister leading a younger sister, King Lin was weak and shy. In addition, Yan was indeed older than King Lin. Her real age was even much older than Gu Fei and Yuan. Therefore, in normal times, Yan asked King Lin to call her sister. Maybe. Yan nodded uncertainly, with some hesitation in her eyes. Then, she looked at Gu Fei. At this time, Yan trusted Gu Fei very much, and even relied on him a little. Therefore, she hoped that Gu Fei could say something. Suddenly feeling the breath of blood connection, Yan was of course happy, but she also felt a little timid because of the homesickness. She needed Gu Fei's affirmation. Yan, since you have already sensed it, if it is your clansmen, they should also be able to sense your existence. Don't worry. Gu Fei saw that she was a little uneasy, and replied with a smile. Yan listened and relaxed a little. She responded, then held her chin and looked empty. Soon, the space in front of the few people cracked with a sound. Yan's eyes moved. Just a moment ago, she noticed that the breath connected by blood suddenly became extremely close, allowing her to clearly sense it. Immediately, a sturdy figure crossed the space and came out. As soon as this figure appeared, a very strong pressure suddenly descended on this world, making the 6th level peak power of the Lion King feel a sense of fear. 8-star Xun. As soon as the Sky Fire Venerable, who had recovered his physical body, saw this person, he realized his strength, and his face showed a rare solemnity. Gu Fei also felt the breath of this sturdy figure. Although he couldn't beat this man now, he was not worried, because, since he broke through Xun last time, he sensed a familiar breath at that moment, although he didn't find out who it was at that time. However, after this period of time, he gradually guessed one thing, that is, his whereabouts are likely to be known by the elders of the clan. That breath should be captured by him in an instant, and the elders of the ancient clan who have been secretly following and protecting him. To put it another way, even if he guessed wrong, Gu Fei could crush the space jade slip to summon the strong men of the ancient clan. Therefore, although the 8-star Xun looked scary, Gu Fei had no fear on his face. Haha, it's really the royal bloodline. I finally found the royal bloodline. The sturdy figure that appeared from the space crack was a middle-aged man in leather clothes. After he appeared, his eyes were always fixed on Yan. For some reason, Yan's eyes were always firmly locked on him, and her eyes were a little erratic. After a moment, an uncontrollable laugh of surprise came out of his mouth. This laugh was very domineering, just like the thunder of the 9 heavens, sweeping across the sky, and the sound also contained extremely powerful dragon power. At this moment, Yan's eyes were also filled with joy, and her eyes widened slightly. The feeling of the big man's bloodline being close to her instinctively made her feel kind. Are you one of my people? Yan hesitated for a moment, and asked with a smile. Yes, we are all from the Taixu ancient dragon clan, and you are the royal bloodline of my clan. The big man smiled and nodded in response. Royal bloodline, let High King take you back to the clan. If the elders knew about your return, they would be ecstatic. High King? Hearing the sturdy man's self-proclaimed name, Gu Fei's remaining suspicions were completely eliminated, and he was relieved. He was still quite impressed by this Taixu ancient dragon named High King. After all, in the original novel, this guy appeared very frequently. In the Dragon Clan Rebellion War, he was even willing to sacrifice his life to protect the royal bloodline. Yan took a deep breath and looked at Gu Fei. Seeing Gu Fei nod in tacit agreement, a trace of reluctance flashed in her eyes. Yan felt reluctant, and her emotion value increased by 100. Since someone has come to her door and brother Gu Fei has confirmed it, she must go on this trip. The opportunity to find out her life experience as expected was given to her, but Yan was reluctant to leave. Brother Gu Fei, goodbye. Sister Xiao Yan, King Lin, we will meet again. Yan looked at Gu Fei, Xiao Yan, King Lin and others with some reluctance, and said goodbye with difficulty. Goodbye. Xiao Yan and King Lin said, their eyes were a little red. Yan, see you later. Gu Fei waved his hand, and the others watched Yan follow High King. As they entered the space torn by High King, they disappeared in the blink of an eye. The bloodline of the royal family of the ancient dragon clan of Taixu. I didn't expect that the women Gu Fei met were all extraordinary. One had a body of evil poison, and the other had the 3-flower pupil of a green snake. In the distant void, an old man in a white robe had a very surprised expression on his face. Alas, compared to Gu Fei, Xun'er's vision of people is far worse. After a moment, the old man thought of something and couldn't help but sigh. Chapter 85 Yao Lao wakes up. Yanzi, don't panic, your master will take you to find the strange fire. northwest continent. On the lowest road 100 miles away from Jiama imperial capital, a young man dressed in black and carrying a black giant ruler walked alone. The young man's eyes were calm, and there was a faint smell of blood on his clothes. On some of the exposed skin, there were sword marks of various sizes. This young man was Xiao Yan, who had fought with Nilan Yanren during the day. Nilan Yanren's attack was fierce, and ordinary elixirs were not effective in healing her wounds. Xiao Yan didn't care at the moment, just wiped the sweat from his forehead, and his heart was very calm. This time, Xiao Yan did not meet Hai Bodong and Queen Medusa as in the original book. No one could protect him, and Yuan did not miss the duel as in the original book. Therefore, after Xiao Yan went up the mountain, he was afraid of some things in his heart, and he was not too arrogant, and his words were not as fierce as in the original book. During the day, on the magnificent square of Yunlin sect, Nilan Yanren wore a moon-white robe, and her youthfulness was gone. Seeing Xiao Yan, whom she had not seen for 3 years, Nilan Yanren raised her chin slightly, her eyes were arrogant, and her delicate face was a little cold. The long sword was unsheathed, and the tip of the sword pointed directly at Xiao Yan. Nilan Yanren, the 3-year period has come. Today, let us use this tool to settle the grievances of the past 3 years, Xiao Yan said in a deep voice. After saying this, he slowly pulled out the huge black ruler behind him. The body was tense, and the battle was about to break out. In the past 3 years, both of them were talented people in the Jiama Empire, and each had made progress. I hope this farce will end soon. On the high platform, Yuan lowered her eyes slightly. Her eyes fell on the duel between Xiao Yan and Nilan Yanren, and she sighed in her heart. Yuan also felt a little guilty towards the Zhao family for what happened back then. After all, Nilan Yanren's actions back then were a little radical. If the two sides could discuss privately, perhaps these things today would not have happened. In the square, the air was silent for a moment. Xiao Yan's fingertips trembled, and his figure flashed quickly. After a while, he rushed to Nilan Yanren. She snorted coldly, turned her wrist, and the long sword cleverly blocked between the two. The fighting spirit fluctuated violently, and the center of the battle burst into dazzling light from time to time. Yuan watched quietly. Although Xiao Yan's attack was extremely fierce, and every move seemed to be a fight for life, Yuan was not worried about Nilan Yanren. This 3-year appointment was also a good practice opportunity for Yanren. Whether winning or losing, it would improve her state of mind and strength a lot. With her here, Yanren would be fine even if she lost this competition. Yuan was still confident that she had saved Yanren from a boy who was less than 20 years old. She actually reached the Grand Fighting Master. On Xiao Yan's side, because Yao Lao fell asleep in advance, he did not learn the Earth-level fighting skills, and he did not refine the Azure Lotus Earth Heart Fire. Therefore, his cultivation level did not break through to the level of a great fighter. At the beginning, he relied on the skilled fighting skills he had learned in the Warcraft mountain range to suppress Nilan Yanren. However, as Nilan Yanren showed her cultivation level of a great fighter and used some secret fighting skills from the Yunlin sect, Xiao Yan immediately fell into a disadvantage and was defeated. Xiao Yan, you lost, Nilan Yanren said condescendingly, her figure briefly hovering in the air. She was sure that she could completely end this duel and defeat Xiao Yan in a few moves. It seems that I can only use that. Xiao Yan frowned. His eyes were full of complex thoughts, and he seemed to have made a decision. The next second, the Xuanzong ruler in Xiao Yan's hand suddenly turned golden. The scorching heat on it could be seen and felt clearly by everyone in the square. In another confrontation, the flame directly melted the fighting spirit attack launched by Nilan Yanren, and it quickly broke through her defense and touched the long sword. The flame burned very fast, and the sacred golden color seemed to burn everything in the world. How could it be? Nilan Yanren was extremely surprised, and then she threw away the long sword in her hand. What kind of flame is this? It can actually burn chi energy. On the high platform, Yuan saw the golden flame and was also surprised. She flashed and quickly appeared in front of Nilan Yanren, standing between the two. Yanren, admit defeat. Nilan Yanren heard it, and a trace of unwillingness flashed in her beautiful eyes. Teacher. Yuan did not look back, and shouted coldly, this strange fire is very powerful. If you insist on fighting, I'm afraid it will be dangerous. I admit defeat. Under the persuasion of her teacher, Yan lowered her head and whispered. The next moment, the golden flame released by Yan was retracted. He was covered with sword marks and blood stains. He supported the Xuanzong ruler and barely stood up. That strange fire was actually a golden emperor burning heaven flame given by Xun'er. With it, Yan was able to counterattack and force Yan to admit defeat. Perhaps he understood that his victory was not glorious because of external objects, so after the victory, Yan was not too aggressive. In addition, after all, Yan's master Yuan was present. Yan was not sure that he could threaten a Huang with this fire. He laughed loudly, and then turned and left without hesitation. Yanzi, it seems that your cultivation has made good progress during this period. Yan walked, and some things that happened during the day flashed in his mind. Suddenly, a familiar old voice sounded. Yan was stunned, and then reacted. Yao Lao woke up. Teacher, you are awake. Yan was overjoyed, his face full of smiles. Next, Yan told Yao Lao, who had just woken up, what had happened during this period. He actually didn't care much about Yan's matter. What Yan really cared about was that day in the Jiama Empire, when Xun'er was taken away. After hearing what Yan said, Yao Lao was silent for a moment. Yanzi, you should practice well first. There are some things that are not good for you to know in advance. He sighed for a long time and said. From Yan's words, Yao Lao had guessed something. As the old man said, Gu Fei was probably about the same age as Xun'er when he reached the Xun realm. Even Yao Lao had never encountered such a heaven-defying talent for practice. Even in his former Yao clan, such a monster rarely appeared. The Burning Jew has the opportunity to change all this. As long as you practice well, your future may not be worse than others. Yao Lao looked at Yan's worried look and said in a low voice. He was not trying to comfort her, but Fenju did have strength beyond his rank. Teacher, you arranged for me to train in the Magic Beast Mountain range before. Where should we go next? Yao Lao pondered for a moment, and suddenly thought of a place in his mind. Next, let's go to the Tiger Desert. In my impression, there is a high possibility of strange fire there. Chapter 86 Starfield, 3000 Flames of Fire. Dan Domain. As Yan's figure completely disappeared, Dao Yixian and King Lin reluctantly withdrew their sight. We should be happy for Yan to see her people this time, and it's not like we won't see each other again in the future. Gu Fei comforted them a few words, looking very free and easy. Then, they boarded the Lion King's back and began to rush towards Shengdan City. The space wormhole was as boring as ever, but it was no longer quiet this time. On a wide space channel, countless spaceships flashed by, and a series of noisy sounds filled the space channel. And in this noisy journey, the legendary Shengdan City was getting closer and closer. On this day, Dao Yixian woke up early in the morning. After a simple wash, she planned to wake King Lin up. She cleared her throat. King Lin, it's time to get up. We're almost there. She habitually called out Yan's name, and she was stunned for a moment, hiding the sadness in her eyes. After all, she had experienced so many companions, and suddenly left. Even after 2 days, Dao Yixian still couldn't adapt. Gu Fei heard her sudden pause and quickly reacted. He hugged Yixian and hugged her tightly with his warm body. Don't be too sad. We and Yan will meet again in the future. Dao Yixian raised her eyes and asked hesitantly, really? Gu Fei gently rubbed Yixian's head and said with a smile, I will. Dao Yixian has developed a dependent emotion, and the emotion value is increased by 100. Dao Yixian responded sullenly, buried her whole body in Gu Fei's arms, leaned on him with attachment, and smiled happily. A few days later, when they left the space wormhole again and appeared in Gu Fei's sight, what Dao Yixian and the others saw was a huge square made entirely of red rocks. This square has no end in sight. The only thing that can be seen is the red line that stretches to the end of the sight. Looking at this appearance, it must be at least thousands of meters wide. People standing in it are as small as a tiny ant. Wow! This is too spectacular. King Lin's eyes were full of curiosity, and he couldn't help but exclaimed, this is just a space point in the outer domain of Shengdan City. There are 8 such space squares in the outer domain. Gu Fei introduced. Just such a square is probably nearly 1/10 the size of Yeking, but Shangdan City is equipped with 8. Now Yixian and King Lin couldn't help but sigh at the hugeness of this place. They looked around with curiosity and yearning in their eyes. Hee, don't be surprised. Shangdan City is divided into outer domain and inner domain. Now we are in the outer domain. As for Danda, it is in the inner domain. Of course, no matter the outer domain or the inner domain, it is Danta's territory. Gu Fei saw their surprised look and couldn't help but laugh. Although this Shangdan City is called a city, it is far from being comparable to ordinary cities. If we only talk about area, dozens of Yekang can't catch up with it. Dan Haozun didn't say anything, although there was a little yearning in his eyes. But he was not as exaggerated as Yixian and King Lin. He had been here before and knew a little about Shangdan City. In the real center of Zhangzhou, riding a 6th-level flying monster would still attract a lot of attention, but it was not surprising, because here, even a 6th-level alchemist, a rare existence that needs to be protected in the outside world, seems to have become extremely common here. Just after entering the outer domain for a while, Gu Fei and his group met at least 2 or 3 people wearing the 6th-level alchemist badge. Because it was already dusk, Gu Fei did not take a few people to stroll around Shangdan City. He found an inn and stayed there directly. As time passed, the night slowly poured down from the sky. The whole Shangdan City was wrapped in the hazy night. On the balcony on the 2nd floor of the inn, Gu Fei stood with his hands behind his back and looked up at the bright stars in the sky. The 3,000 flames were in the starry sky of the inner domain of Shangdan City. Gu Fei was determined to get the 3,000 flames. Next to her, Dao Yixian, dressed in a white dress, was standing there. The moonlight from the sky poured down and shone on her body, like a silver yarn, adding a bit of charm. "Haven't you rested yet?" Gu Fei smiled, hugged the beautiful woman's slender waist, and whispered in her ear intimately, causing Yixian to blush and her eyes to soften. Dao Yixian feels shy. Emotional value increases by 100. Now Gu Fei and Yixian have advanced to a relationship, and their words are very ambiguous. She is not much different from the gentle Yixian in King Shan Town. She still has a gentle smile and her red lips are slightly raised. The girl who looks weak and harmless actually has a terrifying physique like the evil poison body. Her evil poison body is cultivated very quickly. Now Yixian has reached the level of Ling. This terrifying speed is the result of Gu Fei deliberately letting her control the amount of poison she took and suppressing it. After all, in the original work, Dao Yixian only took more than 3 years. From a person who had never practiced, he grew to the level of a 3-star Zhong. And the little girl King Lin has now reached the level of a great master. Because she can absorb the energy of the snake-shaped monster controlled by the 3-flower pupil of the green snake, this cheating ability is equivalent to the absorption of energy in the martial arts world. On the balcony, the two snuggled together and quietly admired the vast sea of stars in the sky. "I'm a little tired." After a while, Dao Yixian closed her eyes and said softly. Gu Fei gently rubbed her temples and whispered, "Then go to bed early." "Well, you should go to bed early too." Dao Yixian glanced at Gu Fei with resentment, then turned and left. After Dao Yixian entered the room, Gu Fei's eyes moved. Then, he slowly closed them again. At the moment when his eyes closed, the majestic soul power, like a tide, spread out from the center of his eyebrows, and then spread towards the bright starry sky. Soon, this soul power penetrated a strange energy barrier and entered a dark place. In the soul vision, a giant dragon that seemed to have no end was winding and entrenched, with its pupils closed. On its body, a strange purple-black flame was lingering. Is this the 3,000 flames? It is worthy of being the 9th-ranked strange fire on the strange fire list. Seeing the purple-black flames and pressure on the dragon, Gu Fei murmured in his heart. The 3,000 flames, also known as the 3,000 starry sky flames, is ranked 9th on the strange fire list. It was formed in the starry sky and can absorb the power of the stars and become stronger and stronger. It was recorded in ancient books that when the 3,000 flames was formed, silver fire fell from the sky, and the land of 1,000 miles was like a desert, with no distinction between day and night, no stars, and no sun. Because it is in the starry sky, a place that ordinary people cannot reach, The general existence time of the 3,000 flames will be longer than other serviceless strange fires, and it is precisely because of this that it was given enough time to evolve. Therefore, most of the 3,000 flames that have been discovered are super-spiritual creatures with high intelligence. Even if they are found, it is extremely difficult to capture them. This kind of fire has an extremely special ability, which is the rumored 3,000 stars constitution, which can absorb the power of the stars to strengthen itself or heal injuries. Therefore, some strong men who have fought with people who have the 3,000 flames call this constitution immortal body. At this moment, Gu Fei looked at the quietly burning purple-black flames, and his heart was burning. Who dares to peek into the Danchang star region? Just as Gu Fei was pondering in his heart, a fierce shout suddenly sounded in the depths of his soul. The sudden shout, with a huge pressure, acted on his soul power. However, Gu Fei had already entered the spiritual realm, and the soul power that was separated was not shaken away, but returned to the body safely. Chapter 87 Queen Medusa, how could I have such a dirty idea? It's time to go to bed. The soul power withdrew from the star field, and Gu Fei slowly turned around, as if nothing had happened in the star field. Next, he went straight to the outside of Xiao Yan's room. Xiao Yan, are you asleep? Gu Fei asked softly, but there was no response from the room. However, Gu found that the door of the room was not closed, but just ajar. Upon finding this, he walked straight in with a strange smile on his face. In the room, Xiao Yan was not asleep. Since the last time their relationship went beyond that step, she had regarded Gu Fei as the only one in her life. At this moment, she realized that it was Gu Fei who came in, and she quickly closed her eyes. A little heart was beating. Are you really asleep? Gu Fei came to the bedside, looked at the beauty with closed eyes on the bed, and asked again. At this time, he could clearly hear the sound of Xiao Yan's heartbeat and breathing speeding up. It was obvious that Xiao Yan was pretending to sleep. The door that was deliberately not closed was left for Xiao Yan for himself. Sleep, forget it. You should have a good rest. Gu Fei's mouth corners slightly raised, and then he turned around. However, at this moment, a snow-white arm quickly stretched out from the quilt and pulled him. No, I've been waiting for you. Then, a soft, delicate voice came out of the mouth of the little Dr. Fairy. After saying this, the little Dr. Fairy's face suddenly flew a blush, and then shyly pulled up the quilt, and even buried her head in the quilt. Little goblin, since you don't come out, then I'll go in. Gu Fei took advantage of the situation and got into the quilt. While taking off his clothes, he set up a seal to isolate the room. The quilt was very warm, and when the skin touched, Gu felt that his soul and the little Dr. Fairy's soul were blending together. Soon, the atmosphere in the room became extremely charming. It's so hot. At a certain moment, the little Dr. Fairy in the quilt suddenly kicked the quilt away, and the two young bodies without any cover hugged each other tightly. Xiao Yan has a happy emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. Queen Medusa has an angry emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. At this time, a colorful little snake crawled from the end of the bed to the corner of the room. Its colorful snake eyes seemed to have a bit of human contempt. At this time, Gu Fei automatically filtered out other sounds and ignored the system's prompts, focusing only on the business at hand. Damn guy, you actually humiliated me like this. Wait for me. In the colorful little snake, Queen Medusa's soul launched an accusation against Gu Fei, but Gu Fei couldn't hear it. Although Queen Medusa was angry about Gu Fei's behavior, she didn't dare to use force at all, because she knew that Gu Fei's strength could kill her with just a flick of his finger. Moreover, because she had watched the scene of Gu Fei and Xiao Yan combining several times with her own eyes, Queen Medusa seemed to be unable to get rid of that scene in her mind. Originally, Queen Medusa always thought these things were disgusting, but after that night, listening to the charming voice coming from the other side, she actually unconsciously had some strange thoughts. No, how can I have such a dirty idea? Queen Medusa's soul resisted that kind of thought with all her strength, and secretly vowed in her heart that she must get rid of Gu Fei's clutches as soon as possible. The next day, Gu Fei got up at noon. He covered Xiao Yan with a quilt, then changed his clothes, and took the little snake in the corner that was a little sluggish and resentful into his sleeve. After coming out of the room, Gu Fei saw King Lin standing not far from the door. King Lin had a smile on his face. "Brother Gu Fei, you got up. Where is Sister Xiao Yan? Why hasn't she come out yet?" Hearing the little girl's words, Gu Fei was a little embarrassed, and said vaguely, "She is a little tired, and is still resting now." "It's noon now. How can Sister Xiao Yan still be tired after sleeping for so long?" "Last night, did you practice all night?" King Lin muttered with some doubts. "Practice all night?" Hearing King Lin say this, Gu felt a little embarrassed. He didn't want to continue talking about this topic, so he quickly found an excuse to leave. He found the Lion King and the Skyfire Venerable and asked them to protect King Lin and the little medical fairy. With the strength of the Skyfire Venerable, even in Shangdan City, he was considered a strong man. Gu Fei himself planned to go to the Dan Tower in the inner domain to see some people. Dan Tower is located in the center of the inner domain of Shangdan City. This area is the holy land in the hearts of countless alchemists. Just now, he gradually entered the inner domain, and when Gu Fei stepped into the gate of the inner domain, the noisy noise suddenly weakened a lot. The inner domain of Shangdan City is generally allowed to stay by some forces related to the Dan Tower or high-level alchemists. Therefore, the quality of the inner domain is incomparable to that of the outer domain. When he stepped into the inner domain, Gu Fei raised his head and his eyes stopped at the center of the inner domain. There, a black tower of nearly 100 meters high stood tall, like a small mountain, giving people a sense of majesty. The top of the tower was deep in the clouds, and at a glance, the top was almost invisible. It looked extremely mysterious in the clouds and mist. "Is that Dan Tower?" Looking at the black tower that was like a pillar supporting the sky, Gu Fei's face showed some surprise. This time, Gu Fei was thinking about going straight to the point to find the top of Dan Tower and propose to try to subdue the 3,000 flames to see what Dan Tower would ask. The outer perimeter of Dan Tower was heavily guarded, so when Gu Fei came, he showed all his aura without any restraint. Revealing the identity of a strong man can shield some unnecessary troubles. "Please pass on the message. I want to meet the 3 giants of Dan Tower." Gu Fei directly stated his purpose. This person's aura is so strong. It seems to be stronger than Elder Sheng. Could he be a Zun strongman? Such a young Zun strongman. How is this possible? At this moment, because of the powerful aura displayed by Gu Fei, these guards did not underestimate him. "The 3 presidents are busy, and we are not sure whether we will see you. Go and inform the elders," the guard leader said in a serious tone. Although Gu Fei showed the aura of Zun, for the guards of Danta, they were not afraid, because they were sure that no one would be brave enough to come to Danta to cause trouble. "Thank you," Gu Fei smiled. After a while, an old man in a white robe came out of Danta and walked towards this side. Judging from his cultivation level, he was probably at the level of a 2-star Zun. "Hello, Elder Li." As the old man arrived, the guards around him saluted him. It turns out that he is really a Zun. The old man arrived and looked at Gu Fei carefully, his eyes full of surprise. He had never seen a young man with such a talent for cultivation before. Although Elder Li also suspected that Gu Fei's real age was not like this, he could not find any clues. Chapter 88 The Witch Cao Ying. This is Elder Li, one of the 8 elders of Danta. A guard introduced the old man to Gu Fei. "Elder Li, I'm Gu Fei." Gu Fei smiled and nodded to greet him, without much formality. "Young friend Gu Fei, where are you from?" Elder Li didn't care. After all, Gu Fei and he had the same cultivation, from the East region. Hearing this, Gu Fei said bluntly, "East region." Gu's surname. Could this person be from? After listening to Gu Fei's words, the old man thought for a moment, and suddenly showed a look of shock on his face. The Gu clan is almost the emperor of all forces in the East region. That kind of powerful force, above Zhangzhou. The more powerful people are, the more they can understand its horror. Therefore, when guessing that Gu Fei might be a member of the Gu clan, Elder Li was very shocked. "Young friend, please follow me." With the leadership of this high-level one of the 8 elders of Danta, Gu Fei passed the strict inspection outside the Danta very smoothly and entered the huge Danta. After entering the Dan Tower, Elder Li led Gu Fei straight to the upper floors of the giant tower. After a long time, they stopped outside a very spacious hall. Then, Gu Fei waited outside, while Elder Li went into the hall to pass on the message. "Okay, little friend Goof, the president agreed to meet you." Elder Li came to the outside of the hall and motioned Goof to go in. The hall was filled with many bookshelves, which looked messy. It was filled with many flames of different colors. The colorful flames intertwined, giving it a dreamy and blurred feeling. Goof's footsteps landed lightly on the stone slab, and his eyes swept for a while. After a moment, he stopped in front of a bookshelf, where an old man in white was carefully sweeping the dust on the bookshelf. The old man in white had no aura emanating from his body, and he looked like an ordinary old man. However, how could someone who could be treated with great respect by Elder Li be an ordinary person? Goof was not too surprised at this moment. He had seen many strong men like this. In terms of the number of strong men, the mere Danta is nothing compared to the ancient clan. The old man in the hall was Zhuan Kongcai, the leader of the three giants of Danta. This boy is indeed extraordinary. Although the Elder Li had already said some things just now, when Zhuan Kongcai saw Goof's sage, cultivation, and soul realm with his own eyes, he was still very surprised. "I guess the senior is President Zhuan Kongcai." Goof bowed and smiled. "Yes, my friend Goof, I wonder what you want to discuss with me?" Zhuan Kongcai nodded, and without beating around the bush, he directly asked Goof's purpose of coming here. "I came here to try to subdue the 3,000 flames of flame that Danta imprisoned," Goof said bluntly. He knew that Danta had been suppressing the 3,000 flames of flame for so many years, and was also looking for the right person to subdue this fire. As long as it was not obtained by the people of the mortal enemy Soul Palace, Danta would basically not resist. "You want to subdue the 3,000 flames, are you sure?" Hearing this, Zhuan Kongcai's face changed slightly, and he asked seriously, "Since I'm here, I'm more or less sure?" Goof nodded confidently. "Although my Danta has not subdued the 3,000 flames for so many years, this thing is Danta's thing after all, and it has always been a reward for the winner of the Dan Association. You're breaking the rules by going there this time," Zhuan Kongcai said calmly. From his words, it was hard to tell whether he was refusing or agreeing. "This thing is Danta's thing. If I want to take it away, I will naturally give some compensation," Goof said with a smile, indicating that the other party had made a condition. "Haha, my friend misunderstood." Zhuan Kongcai waved his hand and did not ask Goof for anything. "Even I don't have the right to make the decision directly. Please wait patiently while I discuss this with others." Zhuan Kongcai continued, "I will send someone to inform you when the result comes out." "Okay, I will wait for the good news." Then, Goof left the hall, but before he took a few steps, a woman appeared at the end of the spacious corridor. The woman was tall and slender, wearing a black dress, with a hint of cold and arrogant temperament. Her skin was as white as snow, and her long black hair was casually draped over her shoulders. Her face was slightly thin, but it was particularly delicate, like porcelain, making people feel like they couldn't let it go. The woman stood at the corner of the corridor, looking slightly ahead. In her narrow and slightly lazy eyes, there was a hint of enchantment and charm. This woman had a strong temptation, and even Goof couldn't help but admire her in his eyes. "Xiao Yan is here." Elder Li and the black-dressed woman who were walking side by side with Goof seemed to be very familiar with each other. As soon as they met, they smiled and greeted each other. "Hello, Elder Li." The black-dressed woman also smiled and saluted Elder Li, but the next moment, his eyes looked at Goof beside Elder Li. "Elder Li, who is this?" Xiao Yan was a little curious. She had never seen Goof before, so why did he come out of her teacher's place? Moreover, the majestic aura of Goof made Xiao Yan very frightened. "This is Goof, who just came to discuss something with the president," Elder Li answered briefly. He was not sure about Goof's identity now. Hearing Elder Li's address to Goof, Xiao Yan became even more curious. Usually, Elder Li called them the younger generation of Danta, boy and girl. He came to talk to the teacher about something. What is it that needs to trouble the teacher? Although Xiao Yan was curious, she did not ask, "Hello, Master Goof." "Hello, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first." Facing Xiao Yan's proactive greeting, Goof just nodded and then left. What a strange person. Facing Goof's indifference, Xiao Yan couldn't help but mutter in her heart, She is the most outstanding genius in the history of the Cao family. At the age of 15, she became a direct disciple of one of the three giants of Danta. Now, at the age of just over 17, she has been promoted to a sixth great alchemist. According to this development trend, in 100 years, she will definitely be a candidate for the Danta giant, and even, under the opportunity, she can eliminate the so-called candidate and become a real Danta female giant. And Danta is almost a holy place in the hearts of all alchemists on the continent. It can even be said without hesitation that the giants of Danta are the spiritual leaders in the hearts of countless alchemists. For a woman with such a high achievement, the dazzling halo above her head is indeed enough to make everyone look up to her, and her beauty is also rare in the world. Gu Fei's attitude just now was very calm, different from others. Such behavior made Xiao Yan inexplicably want to get to know this person. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89 The Little Medical Fairy's Jealousy. Xiao Yan has curiosity and doubt, and her emotion value increases by 40. Xiao Yan stared at Gu Fei's back, lifted her long hair with her slender hands, put it behind her ears, and pursed her red lips slightly. Elder Li, what exactly did Gu Fei come to see the teacher just now? Xiao Yan didn't retract her gaze until Gu Fei's figure disappeared around the corner, and then she looked at Elder Li and asked curiously, I'm not very clear. The president is inside? You might as well go and ask the president yourself. Elder Li shook his head. Xiao Yan frowned, responded, and walked towards the hall in front with her skirt fluttering. In the hall, Zhuan Kongcai was facing away from Xiao Yan, looking out the window leisurely, and a gleam of light flashed in his old eyes. Teacher, what did that person come here for just now? After Xiao Yan came in and saluted Zhuan Kongcai, she couldn't wait to ask about Gu Fei. Normally, Xiao Yan would not be so curious about everyone Zhuan Kongcai had met. However, Gu Fei gave her an unusual feeling, not only because of the way Elder Li addressed Gu Fei, it was also because of her own intuition. Zhuan Kongcai turned around and said calmly, the young man just now wanted to try to subdue the 3,000 flames. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's always charming eyes rarely showed a trace of surprise. She could not help but stand up straighter, frowning slightly, with a bit of doubt. So many seniors and Danta can't subdue the 3,000 flames. Can he do it? Looking at his appearance, he seems to be full of confidence. Your teacher is also optimistic, Zhuan Kongcai said with a smile. Hearing this, Xiao Yan fell silent for a while. She didn't expect that her teacher was so confident in Gu Fei. What ability did he have? Xun'er, the cultivation of the young man just now has reached the Xun realm, Zhuan Kongcai said faintly. Hearing this, Xiao Yan was stunned. She had never thought that Gu Fei, who was so young, had such a strong cultivation. But this was not the end. Zhuan Kongcai's next words shocked Xiao Yan even more. Moreover, his soul power is also very strong, and his attainments in alchemy should be very high. Xiao Yan couldn't help but stagnate in breathing, vaguely realizing something. Gu Fei was really extraordinary to be able to let the teacher personally evaluate his strong soul power. She narrowed her eyes and suddenly had an idea. Could it be that Gu Fei was actually some powerful person who had the ability to maintain his youthful appearance? Xun'er, originally with your talent, you were among the best in this domain, but compared to him, you are still far behind. Teacher, could it be ... he is some senior? She asked rather tactfully, still unwilling to give up. As a rare genius in the entire Shengdan city and Dan Tower, Xiao Yan was of course proud. She had been the leader of the younger generation for several years, and now a demon who was more powerful than her appeared out of nowhere. Xiao Yan certainly didn't want to admit it. Zhuan Kongcai stared at Xiao Yan for a long while, then slowly shook his head. This was to deny Xiao Yan's idea. Zhuan Kongcai was very sure that Gu Fei did not use any anti-aging techniques. He was really young. Xiao Yan couldn't hide her shock in her heart. Her beautiful eyes widened slightly. She didn't expect that the teacher would think so highly of that person. She took a deep breath with difficulty and had a terrible guess. Teacher, could it be that That person has reached the realm of a 7th-grade advanced alchemist? She asked doubtfully, with inexplicable emotions in her heart. Yuan Kongzai shook his head, his eyes meaningful. Not the 7th grade. His soul power has already entered the real spiritual realm. Spiritual realm? How is this possible? Cao Ying's breathing became faster, her chest rose and fell sharply, revealing a seductive curve. Her red lips trembled slightly, and she felt incredible. Gu Fei looked about the same age as her, but he was so evil. This was a huge blow to Cao Ying, who was always confident. She took a few steps back in disbelief, then found an excuse and left in a hurry. She wanted to know more about Gu Fei. As Cao Ying left, Yuan Kongzai sighed. Not long after, 2 more figures appeared in the hall. One of them was an old man in black, with dark skin and a tight face. He had a stern feeling of not smiling. The other was a beautiful woman in Cheongsam. She might not be younger than Yuan Kongzai, but her appearance was similar to that of a woman in her 30s. Her expression was indifferent, with a hint of the charm of years. These 2 people were also the giants of Anta, Yanzi and Zhuan Yi. At this moment, the 3 giants gathered together, and Yuan Kongzai explained the situation in just a few words. After hearing Yuan Kongzai's words, Yanzi's first reaction was to refuse. How can we easily violate the rules of Anta? I know what you mean, but no one has been able to refine it for many years, and it still requires us to keep an eye on it all the time. At least, he is the most likely person I have seen in all these years. Zhuan Yi, who was taciturn, heard this and stared at the starry sky outside the window for a moment, then nodded slowly. Since you said so, I can consider it. Yan Lazy, who was standing aside, hesitated a little. It was the first time he saw Yuan Kongzai give such a high valuation to a young man. If there is no problem with his identity, let him try. Yan Lazy compromised, but still wanted to confirm Gu Fei's identity. So, they sent people to find out Gu Fei's information, when he came, which inn he stayed in, and his entourage. However, they all felt unfamiliar with the Zun, Tian Huozun, and had never seen him before. Gu Fei, surnamed Gu. When thinking of these words, the 3 looked at each other with different colors in their eyes. Could it be? This person is really from that ancient mysterious clan? Yanzi confirmed Yuan Kongzai's guess in his heart and no longer said anything against it. Finally, after some discussion, they decided to let Gu Fei try and make a good relationship. Anyway, Danta had long wanted someone to solve the 3,000 flames, and they would need the 3 of them to maintain the seal from time to time in the star field. As for whether Gu Fei could succeed, it was not their concern. On the other side, Gu Fei had returned to the inn. On the way, he also bought a dessert for Dao Yixian. So sweet. Dao Yixian couldn't help but smile sweetly when she had just gotten up and ate the food. Dao Yixian has an attachment emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. On the side, King Lin's eyes kept switching between Dao Yixian and Gu Fei. Gu Fei touched his nose and turned his eyes away, feeling a little guilty, as if he was afraid that King Lin would continue to ask the previous question. Looking at Gu Fei's appearance, Dao Yixian laughed out loud, because King Lin had also asked her about the 2 people's practice just now. King Lin, let's eat together. So, Dao Yixian chose to sacrifice delicious food to shut King Lin's mouth. After the 2 finished eating, they had nothing to do, so Gu Fei decided to take Dao Yixian and King Lin to stroll around Shengdan City, and wait for Danta to make the final decision. Brother Gu Fei, sister Dao Yixian, let's go over there and take a look. The streets of Shengdan City were really lively, with shouts and the aroma of food everywhere. King Lin's pupils dilated excitedly. When he saw something he was interested in, he pulled the sleeves of the 2 and wanted to go over there. Suddenly, a lazy and charming female voice came from behind them. Mr. Gu Fei, what a coincidence. I didn't expect us to meet again so soon. Gu Fei turned around and looked. The person who came was Cao Ying. She was wearing the black dress she had worn before, which made her skin as white as jade and her face particularly delicate. Gu Fei was stunned for a moment. Cao Ying said it was an accidental encounter, but no matter how you look at it, it seems that she took the initiative to find her. Dao Yixian and King Lin also turned around. When they saw Cao Ying for the first time, they both realized that the person who spoke was a great beauty. She stood there, attracting the attention of countless people around. Thinking of Xiao Ying's words just now, Xiao Yixian glanced at Gu Fei slowly and asked in a low voice, "Do you know each other?" Xiao Ying's outstanding beauty, coupled with that sentence, made Xiao Yixian a little sensitive. Chapter 90 Xiao Ying, I want to have an in-depth discussion with you. Xiao Yixian feels jealous and suspicious, and her emotion value increases by 120. Hearing this prompt from the system, Gu Fei couldn't help but have a black line on his forehead. When did this girl become so sensitive? He met Xiao Yixian's eyes and replied with a smile, I met her once when I went to Danta to discuss things with Yuan Kongcai during the day. It's just meeting once. Can that fairy-like woman greet you so enthusiastically on the street? Hearing Gu Fei's words, Xiao Yixian was still a little worried, but in the end, she still chose to believe Gu Fei, because Gu Fei's attitude towards that woman was very indifferent. Even if that woman had any improper thoughts, it was just wishful thinking. Instead, it proved that her brother Gu Fei was very charming. What a coincidence. Ms. Xiao Ying, I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. Gu Fei greeted Xiao Ying casually, and then prepared to leave. Seeing Gu Fei's response to Xiao Ying, Xiao Yixian was relieved again. She moved closer to Gu Fei, and the two of them walked side by side, preparing to leave with King Lin, who was watching the scene in confusion. Master Gu Fei, please wait. As soon as Gu Fei took a step, a charming voice sounded behind him. Gu Fei frowned, paused for a moment, and turned his head to look at Xiao Ying's charming face. Ms. Xiao Ying, is there anything? Although Gu Fei was smiling, Xiao Ying could see clearly that the smile did not reach her eyes. Xiao Ying's eyes were moving, and she was charming and seductive, with a kind of temptation that made people unable to look away. She smiled and said with her hands covering her mouth, last time we met, Master Gu Fei and I didn't have a deep conversation. Now that we have time, why don't we chat together? Hearing Xiao Ying's invitation, Gu Fei raised his eyebrows. His moment of shock was naturally noticed by the little medical fairy beside him. Xiao Yixian is nervous. Emotional value increases by 100. Then, she didn't hide anything and generously took Gu Fei's arm. The two of them leaned on each other intimately, as if to declare their sovereignty to Xiao Ying. When the two women looked at each other, undercurrents surged. Xiao Yixian's appearance, although not as enchanting as Xiao Ying, but it was warm and gentle, like a fairy. If Xiao Ying is a charming and enchanting demon woman, then Xiao Yixian is the fairy who fell into the mortal world. The two women have completely different temperaments, but they are equally fascinating. I think there is no need for this. Gu Fei certainly noticed Xiao Yixian's emotions and directly rejected Xiao Ying. Such a rejection was undoubtedly like a basin of cold water poured on Xiao Ying. Xiao Ying feels surprised and frustrated. Emotional value increases by 60. Xiao Ying has always been proud. In this Stanyu with countless geniuses, there is no man she can look up to. Usually, as long as she opens her mouth, countless men will come around to show their courtesy. But Gu Fei ignored her and rejected her again and again, which made Xiao Ying feel a little embarrassed, and a strange fire ignited in her heart. Mr. Gu Fei, I heard from the teacher that you are also an alchemist. In fact, I came here today to compete with you. Xiao Ying hid her emotions and spoke again. Compete? Hearing Xiao Ying's words, Gu Fei smiled softly, and his eyes fell on her calmly, making it hard to tell whether he was happy or just disdained it. Of course, this competition is not a competition of cultivation, but a competition of souls. Xiao Ying smiled sweetly, and her delicate cheeks revealed a moving charm. This woman, like a vixen who brought disaster to the country and the people, is enough to drive men crazy with her frown and smile. The eyes of the men around her were almost all focused on her. That charming face, the enchanting figure that could not be hidden under the tight black dress, and the soft voice, each of which could attract the attention of a large number of men around. Xiao Ying is a very famous existence in Shangdan City. After all, her talent in refining medicine is really enchanting. Some passers-by recognized Xiao Ying and couldn't help but exclaimed in their hearts, and then their eyes fell on Gu Fei, who was opposite Xiao Ying. Who is this person who can make the demon girl Xiao Ying take the initiative to challenge? Xiao Ying's charming smile is indeed very effective. Gu Fei's eyes also showed a moment of appreciation. However, facing the other party's idea of competing, he just replied lightly, "You are not qualified." Gu Fei's words did not carry the slightest discrimination, but the real thought in his heart. After all, in Gu's perception, Xiao Yan is now just a soul in the late stage of the mortal realm. Compared with his own spiritual realm soul, there is a world of difference, and there is no comparison at all. How can an ant and an elephant be compared? Xiao Yan has a slight anger emotion, and the emotion value increases by 60. Gu's straightforward words undoubtedly made Xiao Yan feel despised. She calmly stretched out her hands to pick up a strand of black hair that fell on her forehead, and the smile on her enchanting cheeks became more charming. "Mr. Gu, please teach me," Xiao Yan continued to say shamelessly, as the voice fell. Without waiting for Gu to respond, the pair of white and delicate jade hands quietly formed a hand seal, and then suddenly condensed. As the hand seal condensed, the soul power lingering around it suddenly condensed rapidly, and in the blink of an eye it turned into a soul phoenix. The phoenix flapped its wings, and the space twisted rapidly. As the flapping speed increased, around it, there were even faintly tiny black space cracks spreading. "She is indeed a demon girl. I heard that she came out of seclusion last time, and her cultivation and soul power have improved a lot. Now this soul phoenix is really terrifying." Seeing the might of the soul phoenix, the faces of the people around changed and they all avoided it. At this time, Xiao Yan also showed a confident smile, waved her jade hand lightly, and tried to control the soul phoenix to press down towards Gu. "Disperse," Gu shouted softly, looking at the soul phoenix calmly. Immediately, an invisible soul storm was born, instantly crushing the phoenix in the sky. In just a blink of an eye, the soul phoenix was torn into pieces, turned into many faint fluorescent points, and soon disappeared. This happened too fast and too suddenly. The phoenix that seemed powerful at first was actually powerless to fight back against Gu. Moreover, Gu did not even raise his hand, but just uttered a word. Xiao Yan is shocked, and the emotion value increases by 100. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of Xiao Yan's mouth. Feeling the sudden soul storm just now, her eyes were full of shock. "I didn't expect that he would actually reach that point. He is still so young. How did he do it?" Xiao Yan has a yearning emotion, and the emotion value increases by 60. Xiao Yan's eyes showed a trace of yearning. That realm is the goal she has been striving for all these years. "I was presumptuous just now." The next moment, she wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, smiled and bowed to Gu. "Thank you, Mr. Gu, for showing mercy." To be honest, she lost too quickly in this contest with Gu, so quickly that she had no power to fight back and was easily crushed by Gu. However, failure is not entirely a bad thing. It will help her future practice. "You have a good talent. If you can calm down, you will achieve great success in the future." Seeing Xiao Yan's attitude of admitting her mistakes, Gu nodded gently, and was not angry at her sudden attack just now. After saying that, he turned around without hesitation and continued shopping with Xiao and the others. Chapter 91 You can't escape from the palm of my hand. Xiao Yan has curiosity and admiration. Emotional value increased by 60. Watching Gu slowly leaving back, Xiao Yan's eyes moved, and a glimmer of light flashed in her narrow and charming eyes. She is proud and competitive by nature. What she likes most is not that no one can defeat her, but that she can really meet some qualified opponents. The appearance of Gu has greatly changed her state of mind. "Gu, you can't escape from the palm of my hand." After a moment, Xiao Yan snorted softly from the tip of her nose, and her jade hand gently clenched, and a charming arc appeared on her cheek again, making the delicate little face as big as a palm more attractive. At this moment, Xiao, who was holding Gu's arm, happened to look back at Xiao Yan. The two women looked calm in their gaze, but there was a strong smell of gunpowder. Perhaps it was the woman's intuition that made Xiao feel a little threatened. She pulled Gu's arm with more force again. Gu's originally relaxed body was caught off guard by this pull, and he almost staggered. Xiao is nervous, and her emotion value increases by 100. "Silly girl, what are you thinking about?" Gu knew the emotions of the two women through the emotion value reminder, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. Before in the ancient world, he was wholeheartedly for Xun'er, but the ending was extremely bleak. Now that he has left Xun'er, he has clearly understood his own charm. The next morning, Gu sensed a breath approaching and got up to open the door. Outside the door, An old man wearing a Danta alchemist robe had been waiting for a long time. "Little friend Goof, the three presidents have agreed to your request. Now, please follow me to Danta." "Wait a moment." Goof smiled and responded to the Danta elder, then turned around and closed the door. At this time, Xiao Yan woke up, rubbed his eyes in confusion, and asked in a hoarse voice, "Who's here?" "It's the elders of Danta. The three presidents of Danta have agreed to my request." Hearing this, Xiao Yan sobered up a little, with a trace of joy in her eyes. "That's great." Goof smiled and touched her messy hair, saying, "However, it may take a long time to go to Danta. After all, the 3,000 flames are not like the strange fires he refined before. Its combat power has exceeded many low-leveled Xun." "Well, I know." Although Xiao Yan was a little reluctant, she didn't ask more questions. She nodded sensibly, with a very gentle look in her eyes. Goof felt warm in his heart as if he was soaked in warm water. "Maybe I'll be back today." Goof smiled, slowly approached Xiao Yan's beautiful lips, causing Xiao Yan to blush, and then left leisurely. Next, Goof followed the elder to Danta. "I'm Yu Ling, and I'm the great elder of Danta." When he arrived here, the great elder of Danta personally received him. This person's cultivation was stronger than the previous elder Li, and he had reached the 5-star Xun. In Danta, many people saw the great elder personally receiving a strange young man, and they all showed curious eyes. Xiao Ying was also standing in the crowd at this moment. When she saw Goof coming, her eyes suddenly lit up. Xiao Ying had a pleasant emotion, and her emotion value increased by 60. "Mr. Goof, what a coincidence. We meet again. Thank you for your guidance yesterday." Goof just smiled politely, and Xiao Ying chatted with him as if she was encouraged, with a glimmer in her eyes. Not far behind Xiao Ying, there stood a young man. Seeing Xiao Ying's enthusiastic attitude towards Goof, the young man had a hint of jealousy in his eyes. But before, he had learned about Goof's strength from some people, and because of Goof's strength, he did not dare to get angry. Goof didn't care about these people's psychology, and his eyes never fluctuated for a moment. What he wanted here was only the 3,000 flames. Next, Yu Ling took Goof into the hall, where Zhuan Kongcai, Tianlsi, and Zhuan Yi were waiting for them. "Friend Goof, although he agreed to let you enter the star field, there are still considerable risks in subduing this fire, so don't force it." Out of kindness, Zhuan Kongcai hesitated for a moment and said one more sentence. Goof's eyes were very firm and he nodded solemnly. Seeing this, Zhuan Kongcai sighed lightly, and then a fluctuating silver space gate suddenly appeared in the space. "Friend Goof, come with me." Yu Ling went in first, and Goof followed without hesitation. With the fluctuation of space, the two figures disappeared one after another under the gaze of three eyes. As soon as he entered the star field, Goof looked around unnoticeably. He felt a scorching temperature coming towards him, and at the same time, the strange fire in his body suddenly became abnormal at this moment. This situation only occurs when encountering other strange fires. The so-called star field is a space forcibly torn out by the three giants of Danta. This kind of space is naturally not as good as the strange place of the ancient world where Goof lives, and it looks quite desolate, with a faint hot mist all around. Faintly, there is a little bit of weak light penetrating into this space, making the light here a little cold. Yu Ling led Goof and flew quickly in the empty space. It took about 10 minutes, until in their sight, there was suddenly a hot and strong light emerging in the distant empty space. The light was so strong that it was like the sun shining here, which made people's eyes sting. "We are here, be careful." Yu Ling suddenly stopped, turned his head, and whispered. After saying this, Yu Ling slowed down and slowly floated forward. Goof quickly followed, gradually approaching the dazzling light. The object in the light appeared clearly in his sight. When he saw the light clearly, Goof's face changed. In the light, there was a huge dragon with no end in sight. The dragon's eyes were closed, and its body was winding. On its huge body, a strange purple-black flame was lingering. As the flames rose, the surrounding space was distorted. In the vast void, the dragon was coiled, and the purple-black flames continued to seep out of its body, burning tirelessly. This spectacular scene made people feel shocked and difficult to conceal. Although Goof had seen it once when his soul was wandering, It was just a quick glance. Now that he was close to it in person, he clearly felt how shocking this ancient wonder was. Standing in front of the dragon, his body was as small as an ant. "Is this the 3,000 flames?" Gu Fei murmured in a low voice, with both heat and hesitation in his eyes. This time, Gu Fei was a little too hasty. The 3,000 flames of flame might not be something he could subdue at his current level. Chapter 92 Can't handle it? Then I'll have to ask for help. Add one more chapter. Please comment and vote. However, since Gu Fei was already here, he had to give it a try. Qiu Ling noticed Gu Fei's expression and shook his head slightly, not optimistic about him. There were countless strong men in the entire Dan Tower, and even the president could not refine the 3,000 flames. Gu Fei's hope was probably very slim. "Friend Gu Fei, you can separate a ray of soul power and enter from here to see if you can influence the 3,000 flames. Remember not to break the seal." The next moment, Qiu Ling pointed to a special scale on the dragon's body and said, "Influence?" Hearing this, Gu Fei suddenly complained in his heart. No wonder no one in Dan Tower has refined the 3,000 flames for so many years. This thing has already given birth to human-like wisdom. How can it be influenced? There is no so-called Buddhist truth in this world. The 3,000 flames have been imprisoned in the star field for so many years and have never been able to gain freedom. They have long hated humans. They will kill them as soon as they get a chance. If you want to refine it, you can't rely on the illusory influence. You must directly wipe out its spiritual wisdom and consciousness, let it turn into a chaotic thing again, and then suppress the original fire to refine it. Okay. Thinking of this in his heart, Gu Fei temporarily followed his words and stepped forward. His eyes swept over the huge dragon with amazing momentum and full of flames, and then found the dragon scale that was as tall as him. There was indeed no flame on it. Glancing at the dragon scale, Gu found that these dragon scales were covered with black lines like spider silk. These black lines were entangled with each other, forming a series of runes that looked extremely strange, and these runes were tightly attached to the dragon scales, like a huge black net, wrapping up all the 3,000 flames. Because of these runes, the 3,000 flames had to be bound here. Gu Fei understood that this was a seal set up by the giants of Danta. With the seal, the 3,000 flames could never leave the star field. He moved forward again, sensing that the dragon scale exuded a faint aura of deterrence. Let's see how fierce this guy is. Gu Fei held a tentative mentality, stretched out his palm, and without hesitation, gently touched the special dragon scale. When his palm touched it, it was surprisingly not hot at all, but rather a faint chill. But Gu Fei had no time to wonder at this time. He closed his eyes, and the soul power at the center of his eyebrows carefully followed his arm, and then along the dragon scale, slowly invading. Bang! After Gu Fei's soul power invaded the dragon scale, a subtle low sound suddenly sounded. Immediately, Gu Fei's soul seemed to break through a layer of something and appeared in a strange void. This void was filled with purple-black flames, and in the center of the flames, Gu Fei looked up and saw a mini version of a dragon there. Compared with the huge dragon in the star field, this little fire dragon seemed a little mini, but its momentum was more terrifying. But at this moment, the little fire dragon was sitting with its eyes closed, as if it was sleeping. Seeing the little fire dragon with its eyes closed, Gu Fei knew that this thing was the origin of the 3,000 flames. Gu Fei knew that the 3,000 flames were not asleep. The moment he came in, it had already noticed him. 3,000 flames. I know you want to get out of this predicament. If you can submit to me, I can take you away from this place. The soul power swept over the little fire dragon, and Gu Fei did not hide it and directly stated his intention. The next moment, the little fire dragon, which had been closing its eyes, suddenly opened his eyes. The dragon eyes filled with purple-black flames were cold and stared at Gu Fei's soul. 3,000 flames have a mocking emotion, and the emotion value increases by 30. Human, do you think I will believe your nonsense? Submitting to you, what's the difference between me and death? The fire dragon suddenly spoke cold human language, and his voice was full of mockery. Even as powerful as it is, it has suffered a lot at the hands of humans. After being suppressed in the star field, batches of humans came in and tried to refine it. Since then, 3,000 flames have known clearly that anyone wants to get its origin fire. But those people have ugly faces and say nice things, such as taking it out and setting it free. It's really ridiculous. The premise of refining the origin fire is to wipe out its spiritual intelligence. In that case, only a body will be left. What's the difference between being dead? Even if it can regenerate spiritual intelligence later, it has nothing to do with it. It seems that you are not stupid. Gu Fei was not surprised by the reaction of 3,000 flames. This strange fire already has the same wisdom as humans. 3,000 flames have anger, and the emotion value increases by 30. Get out of here. 3,000 flames. Cold dragon eyes burned with anger, and shouted angrily. The purple-black flame suddenly burst out from the fire dragon's body, and then swept towards Gu Fei's soul. If Gu Fei's body entered, he might be able to fight against it. After all, the strange fire in his body was not vegetarian, but this was just a wisp of soul power, and naturally it could not withstand the attack of the 3,000 flames. The flame burned on the soul, and Gu Fei's figure was submerged in the purple-black blazing fire. In the star field, Gu Fei, whose palm touched the dragon scale, opened his eyes suddenly, with a hint of anger on his face. He left quickly enough to avoid being burned by the flames. Seeing this scene, the great elder Kai Yuling immediately understood that Gu Fei had failed. Friend Gu Fei, this 3,000 flames have been in Danta for countless years, and many people have tried to influence it. It is normal to fail. It seems that you are not destined to be with this 3,000 flames. Hearing Kai Yuling's words, Gu Fei frowned. Elder Kai Yuling, the 3,000 flames have already possessed the same intelligence as humans. The idea of fate is just empty talk. Gu Fei was not afraid of offending anyone and directly refuted Kai Yuling's words. If we really follow Danta's ridiculous and falsely benevolent approach and try to persuade people to change it, then no one will ever be able to subdue the 3,000 flames. To deal with this kind of spiritual creature that has developed intelligence and hates humans, we still need to use the most brutal methods. Then I wonder what you think, Master Gu Fei. Can you suppress it directly? Kai Yuling feels unhappy, and his emotion value increases by 30. Kai Yuling said with a straight face when he heard Gu Fei deny the method that Danta has been using for so many years. He was obviously a little unhappy, but Kai Yuling also knew that Gu Fei's identity was probably extraordinary, so he didn't go too far at this moment, and his voice was tactful. Kai Yuling believed that although Gu Fei was gifted, he was too young after all, and it was impossible for him to have the strength to forcibly suppress the 3,000 flames. Just suppress it. Hearing this, Gu Fei was silent for a moment and did not reply to Kai Yuling. At this moment, Gu Fei had something in mind. During this training, he had never asked for help from his clan. Since he couldn't beat them, why not find a helper? Although I can't suppress it, if the elders of the clan come to help, it will be easy to suppress the 3,000 flames. Gu Fei made a decision. As the voice fell, he crushed a space jade slip. As the space jade slip shattered, an extremely powerful space force suddenly surged out, and immediately twisted a piece of space next to it into a crack. And just as the crack was taking shape, a white figure slowly walked out of the crack. Chapter 93. Having a background is awesome. Kai Yuling is angry, and his emotion value increases by 20. Friend Gu Fei, I have already made an exception for you to enter the star field and subdue the 3,000 flames. You are actually planning to bring other people in. It's just two. Seeing Gu Fei tearing open the space jade slip, Kai Yuling, who was standing aside, suddenly became angry. His face changed slightly and he scolded. Although Gu Fei has a deep background, his behavior really offended Danta. However, before Kai Yuling finished speaking, he froze in his place. Because, as the white-robed old man in the space crack walked out, an indescribable aura of terror appeared in the star field. Kai Yuling opened his mouth wide, and all the words he wanted to say were swallowed back. There was only shock and dullness in his eyes. He stared at the ordinary-looking old man who came out of the space crack. A trace of fear flashed in his eyes, and he stepped back. Who is the person who came? That terrifying momentum is far inferior to the three giants. The next moment, the void of space was slightly pulsating, and then, another old figure slowly emerged. The person who came was Yuan Kongcai, the leader of the three giants of Danta. He had just noticed the abnormal space fluctuations in the star field, so he didn't have time to greet others, and summoned the silver gate again and entered the star field. Caillou Ling saw Zhuan Kongcai coming, his face relaxed, and just as he was about to speak, Zhuan Kongcai waved his hand and gestured to him to stop with a serious expression. This terrifying momentum, could it be the realm of this senior? As soon as he saw the old man in white robes, Zhuan Kongcai felt his heart beat violently for a moment, and there was also a trace of strong fear in his eyes. "Ha ha, goof boy, you finally remembered the old guy. Did you encounter any trouble this time?" The old man who walked out of the crack had a serious face, and his momentum rose, and a subtle light flashed on his fingertips. He hurried over and thought that Goof had encountered big troubles when summoning him this time. When he saw that Goof was safe and sound, he finally let go of his worries and smiled kindly. "Grandpa Gu, if there is no trouble, can't I see you?" Goof said with a smile. His tone was quite casual and intimate. The person he invited this time was a senior of his grandfather Gu Lai's generation in the clan. He had watched Goof grow up since he was a child and had a very good relationship with him. In Goof's ring, there are more than a dozen such space jade slips. Each space jade slip can at least invite a semi-saint strongman. These space jade slips were all actively stuffed into his hands by the strong men of his grandfather's generation and uncle's generation. Goof refused several times and took less. It can be said that Goof is the most beloved person in the Gu clan. He originally wanted to come out for training. If he used those space jade slips too much, he would probably become dependent on them, which would not help much in improving his strength. Goof would only use these space jade slips when he really needed them. Now, it was the first time that he used the space jade slip to ask for help from the strong in the clan. The ancient bear who came this time had reached the 3-star Cheng level, completely crushing the strongest person present, Zhuan Kongcai. Even in the secret small Dan Tower, it was difficult to find someone who could compete with him. Junior Zhuan Kongcai, meet the senior. Zhuan Kongcai looked at the old and the young who were chatting and laughing over there, and his expression was slightly solemn. The aura of the ancient bear was really too strong. In Zhuan Kongcai's perception, it even surpassed the great elder of the small Dan Tower. At this moment, Zhuan Kongcai did not dare to neglect it, walked forward, and greeted him respectfully. Hearing this, the ancient bear's eyes stopped on Zhuan Kongcai for a moment and nodded slightly. At this moment, Goof had already invited helpers, so he had to take away the 3,000 yen fire today to avoid more trouble. However, with Goof's character, it was obvious that he would not rob the strange fire in Dan Tower. Senior Zhuan Kongcai, this 3,000 flames is a trouble for Danda. How about letting me take it away today? Goof said politely. On the side, Guong listened to what Goof said and nodded in agreement. Although in his opinion, this strange fire is indeed not a particularly important treasure, but Goof has always been opinionated. Since he is unwilling to let go, it means that this strange fire is very suitable for his cultivation. Since Goof has taken a fancy to this strange fire, you should hand it over. If you need any compensation, just say it. Hearing this, Zhuan Kongcai had a strange expression and glanced at Goof inconspicuously. It seems that this kid was so confident before, not because he was sure, but because he was sure of the people he invited to help. Now Zhuan Kongcai, from the moment he saw Guong, has been able to determine that Goof and the others came from the ancient clan. The ancient clan, in Zhuan Kongcai's impression, those ancient races seem to be particularly arrogant. They almost disdain to participate in the struggle between the forces in Zhangzhou. They also disdain some resources from the outside world. Even the 3,000 flames are nothing to such an ancient clan. Guong and Goof are so polite, which is already a face for Danda. Since the seniors have already spoken, then let's do it this way. No need for compensation. Zhuan Kongcai hesitated for a moment and agreed. Then, he quickly formed seals with both hands. The strange runes on the black dragon slowly faded, and the black lines continued to fade. The moment the seal was broken, the 3,000 flames suddenly opened its eyes, roared, and retreated violently, trying to escape from the star field. Beast, if you dare to run again, I will slap you to death. Seeing this, Guong shouted in a low voice with endless pressure. Although the 3,000 flames have been able to compete with the 3 giants of Danta for so many years, it does not mean that it really has the strength to fight against the three giants. After all, the three giants always wanted to seal it, and sealing and killing are two different things. If they chose to kill it, I am afraid that the 3,000 flames would have completely dissipated long ago. Although the 3,000 flames are known as the immortal fire, the three giants of Anta really want to deal with it, and it is not that they have no way, but they don't want to really go that far. Every kind of strange fire is extremely rare for alchemists. Moreover, these strange fires have taken tens of thousands of years to form. If they are destroyed at will, it would be too wasteful. But the ancient bear is different. If the 3,000 flames are not obedient, he will destroy them with thunder. At this moment, under the aura of the ancient bear, the intelligent 3,000 flames really stopped escaping and stopped unwillingly. You beast, you know what's good for you. The ancient bear pinched the seal in his hand, and a force wrapped the 3,000 flames, and then compressed its huge body abruptly. Thank you, Grandpa Gu. Seeing this, Gu smiled. A big background makes him different. Kaiyu Ling feels speechless and envious. His emotion value increases by 20. Kaiyu Ling watched Gu take away the 3,000 flames, and couldn't help but complain in his heart. Chapter 94. I hope my new granddaughter-in-law is more sensible than Xun'er. The originally fierce 3,000 flames fell into Gu's hands like a ball of soft cotton, without any resistance. Thank you, Senior Zhuan Kongcai, for your generous gift. After Gu took away the 3,000 flames, Gu smiled and turned to thank Zhuan Kongcai. Zhuan Kongcai was speechless and embarrassed, and his emotion value increased by 40. Gu's words made Zhuan Kongcai's mouth twitch, and his eyes couldn't help but feel helpless. How could he be generous? This is clearly a snatch. Facing the three-starred Sheng, Zhuan Kongcai dared not say a word. Of course, Zhuan Kongcai did not show any of these complaints. In the final analysis, it is still you, little friend Goof, who has a fate with these 3,000 flames. Zhuan Kongcai nodded at Goof in a casual manner. At this point, the more open his words were, the more important this good fate of the ancient clan would be. Yes, it is indeed very predestined. Goof also echoed and smiled. This guy, his words changed so quickly. The elder Kaiyu Ling on the side had a strange look on his face, because he had heard Goof say before that fate and the like were all nonsense. Goof, boy, when are you going to return to the ancient clan? Gu has a worried emotion. Emotional value increased by 10. Gu glanced at the 3,000 flames, then held it tightly with one hand without caring, and turned to ask Goof. He asked this question simply because he was worried about Goof's safety, because Gu had heard before that there were traces of Soul Clan strongmen in the place where Goof was training. At that time, in the sky outside the Jiama Empire, the Soul Clan strongman passed by briefly, and was noticed by the elder of the ancient clan who followed Goof. Although the Soul Clan strongman and Goof's trajectory did not overlap, there were traces of the Soul Clan in many places where Goof was training. Goof is the person with the purest bloodline in the ancient clan for thousands of years. He is of great significance to the ancient clan and must not be lost. If the Soul Clan finds him wandering outside, he might do something crazy. The Soul Clan has been recuperating for nearly 1,000 years. Recently, it seems that they have started to take some big actions again, so we have to be on guard. Therefore, Gu asked this question out of concern for Goof's safety. He was not urging Goof, but just wanted to give him some advice. Although Goof has a demon-like talent and has reached the Xun realm at the age of 17, he will still be in trouble if he encounters the old generation of strong men of the Soul Clan. Only by staying in the ancient world can we be safe. Grandpa Gu, I originally wanted to take the 3,000 flames and go back, but now I'm afraid I have to wait for a while. Hearing Gu's concerned words, Goof replied with a smile. Now, he is no longer alone, and there are many more people around him. If he wants to go back, Goof must take Dao Yixian, Kinglin and others with him. Dao Yixian, he wants to take her home, hoping that he and his lover can get the recognition and blessings of the elders. And with Goof's identity, the elders in the clan will definitely have great requirements for the wife he chooses. He was reluctant to go back, not only because he wanted to experience the world, but also because he was worried that if Dao Yixian went back with him now, she would suffer inexplicable grievances. In the ancient tribe, the strong are respected. Although Xiao Yan has started to practice and has rapidly climbed up the realm of the evil poison body, she is no match for the younger generation of the ancient tribe who have been practicing steadily for more than 10 years. If he cannot convince the crowd, even if the elders of the ancient tribe do not speak, other people or things will appear to make Xiao Yan leave him. Gu Fei's expression did not restrain, and his eyes unconsciously fell on somewhere outside the star field. "Boy, are you worried that the tribe will not accept my new granddaughter-in-law?" Looking at Gu Fei's changing expression, Gu suddenly laughed out loud and asked. At this moment, Gu finally confirmed one thing: even Grandpa Gu, the elder who has been guarding the ancestral hall for a long time, can know so much about him and Xiao Yan, which means that he has been escorted by the elders of the ancient tribe all the way. Most of the things he experienced should be known to the people in the tribe. Then they also roughly know who Xiao Yan is. Gu was a little nervous, and his eyes drifted for a moment and fell on Gu. He didn't know what the attitude of Gu, who loved him since childhood, would be. The evil poison body that has never been cultivated before has reached Ling in 1 year. This kind of talent is actually not bad, Gu continued to add, and Gu heard it clearly. There was no dissatisfaction with Xiao Yan in his voice. Just bring her back. It doesn't matter what other people in the tribe think, as long as you like it. Gu took a step forward and patted Gu on the shoulder with a smile. His words revealed a sense of dominance and pampering for Gu. After all, he was a child who had grown up under his care. Even though the elders of the tribe said every day that they should find a wife who was well matched for Gu, with comparable talent and family background, so that she could be a good helper, but Gu never thought so. He couldn't stand the other elders' self-righteous concern. Although they really did it for Gu's good, they never asked him what he wanted. Therefore, Gu had a sweetheart again, and Gu was very happy for him. He didn't care about his sweetheart's strength, appearance, and family background. As long as Gu liked her, it was enough. If those old guys dared to object, he would be the first to stand up and support Gu. Moreover, Gu knew that since Gu already had a new sweetheart, he had already walked out of the incident with Xun'er. I hope this new granddaughter-in-law will not hurt Gu's heart like Xun'er, the willful girl. Gu sighed in his heart. Grandpa Gu, you are still sensible. Hearing Gu's words, Gu replied with a smile, his eyes full of gratitude. There are not many elders who are so sensible. Next, Gu's eyes fell on the docile 3,000 flames in Gu's hand. He paused for a moment and spoke. Please take these 3,000 flames back to the clan for safekeeping. Grandpa Gu, when I have the strength to refine them, I will go back to deal with them. In the future, I will make sure to use them for my own benefit. Gu said seriously. With his current strength, refining 3,000 flames would be too dangerous, and he did not want to take risks. Gu has an admiring emotion, and his emotion value increases by 10. Haha, Gu, I have to say that your talent for controlling flames is better than those of the Yan clan. I have never heard of anyone who can refine 3 different fires at the same time. Gu praised, with a smile on his face. In Gu's impression, Yan Jin, the chief of the Yan clan, only refined 2 different fires. Gu, on the other hand, was already planning to fuse the 4th different fire. Even the knowledgeable Gu was amazed by this method. Chapter 95. Yan, teacher, do you think I still have a chance? Gu, the old man is going back first. You should also bring your new wife back to the tribe as soon as possible. Also, be sure to pay attention to safety. Gu smiled and patted Gu's shoulder, then waved his hand gently in the void, and a space crack appeared beside him. Don't worry, I will pay attention and go back after a while. Seeing Gu step into the space crack, Gu responded easily. Soon, the space crack healed quietly, as if nothing had happened. Gu, since the 3,000 flames have been taken away, let's go out. Zhuan Kongcai was now more polite when he spoke to Gu than before. Yeah, Gu nodded, and then followed Zhuan Kongcai and Kaiyu Ling to leave the star field. The star field when leaving seemed to have changed from the star field when he just came in. The sky was full of stars twinkling, and it seemed that with the disappearance of the 3,000 flames, this star field really emitted a brilliant light. Outside the Dan Tower, on the huge square, A crowd of people gathered at this moment. Most of these people were wearing alchemist robes, because they heard that someone was trying to subdue the 3,000 flames. Many people gathered here to know the result. After a while, the silver space gate in the sky of Danta suddenly fluctuated. Then, Zhuan Kongcai, Kai Yuling, and Gu Fei walked out of the gate one after another. He came out so soon, it seems that he failed. I have said that this kid thinks too highly of himself. Only I, Song King, can truly subdue the 3,000 flames. In the crowd, the young man who was jealous of Cao Ying and Gu Fei's chat before now gloated to the people beside him. Yes, only you, brother Song King, can subdue the 3,000 flames, the man next to him said flatteringly. At this time, some people who were not clear about the situation in the star field thought that Gu Fei had failed. After all, Gu Fei had been in the star field for a short time. In their cognition, it was impossible for anyone to refine the fierce 3,000 flames in such a short time. Mr. Gu Fei, although you failed this time, I believe that you will be able to successfully subdue it in a few years. Unlike Song King, who looked gloating, Cao Ying walked up to Gu Fei and said some encouraging words to him sincerely. Humphrey, what's so good about him? Isn't it just that he entered the spiritual realm earlier? I will be able to enter that realm sooner or later. Seeing the woman he secretly loved being so attentive to Gu Fei, Song King clenched his fists and his face became a little ferocious in an instant. However, what Zhuan Kongcai said next made everyone's face change. Zhuan Kongcai cleared his throat, his face solemn. He walked in front of everyone, his eyes paused for a moment, and said loudly, "Everyone, the 3,000 yen Ho in the star field has been taken away. From now on, the reward for the winner of the alchemy meeting will no longer include subduing the 3,000 yen Ho." Zhuan Kongcai did not clearly state the ending of the 3,000 yen Ho, because ancient races like these did not want too many people to spread their stories. Taken away? Cao Ying looked at Gu Fei beside her in surprise, with incredible respect in her beautiful eyes. Because she didn't know what happened in the star field, Cao Ying took it for granted that Gu Fei had subdued and refined the 3,000 flames. How is this possible? Not far away, Song King, who was originally gloating, suddenly turned black, as ugly as if he had eaten shit. Looking at the crowd that had become chaotic, Gu Fei did not stay for long. He politely bowed to Zhuan Kongcai, then ignored Cao Ying who wanted to come over to congratulate him, and left directly. Cao Ying felt embarrassed and slightly disappointed, and her mood value increased by 60. Gu Fei. Cao Ying's hand hovered in the air, her mouth slightly open, and her smile gradually solidified. She looked at Gu Fei's back absent-mindedly, not understanding why she had such emotions, and subconsciously didn't want Gu Fei to leave. No matter what, as long as you haven't gotten married, I still have a chance. After a moment, Cao Ying's eyes gradually became firm again. Gu Fei, after leaving Danta, walked straight towards the outer domain. On the way, he packed some desserts for Xiao and Kinglin. "Brother Gu Fei, you're back so soon." Kinglin was surprised to see Gu Fei coming back, because when he went out in the morning, he told her that it might take a long time to come back this time. "Something happened, so I came back early." "Where's Xiao? Hasn't she gotten up yet?" Gu Fei said as he pushed open Xiao's door and walked in. In the room, there was a poisonous fog. In the middle of the room, there was a bathtub, and Xiao was soaking in the bathtub. At this time, Xiao's expression was slightly painful, and her face was soaked in crystal sweat. Looking at Xiao's situation, it was obvious that she had used too much poison, and even with the poison pill to absorb and transform the toxin energy, she was a little uncomfortable. "Brother Gu Fei, wait a little longer, I'll be fine soon." Xiao was obviously a little surprised by Gu Fei's early return. "Don't worry, slowly transform the toxin first." Gu Fei waved his hand to signal Xiao to continue, and then went straight to the bathtub. He knew that Xiao was eager to improve her cultivation. That was why he took the risk of injecting a large amount of poison at once, so that it could not be converted in time. Northwest Continent, Tiger Desert. "Teacher, it seems that the strange fire has probably been taken away by the guy riding the 6th level magic beast Purple Crystal Winged Lion King." Yan hid behind a sand dune and communicated with Yao Lao's soul in the ring. At this time, He had already penetrated into the territory of the Snake People and found out some things that happened in the holy city of the Snake People. In addition, Xiao Yan had passed through the stone desert city where his eldest brother and second brother were, and found the passage leading to the underground magma lake. It should be the person who took away the strange fire may be Gu Fei mentioned by the girl. Although you have never seen him, you have indirectly dealt with him a lot. Yao Lao nodded. What should I do? The strange fire here is gone. I can't just go and snatch it from him, right? Xiao Yan said helplessly. That's no different from seeking death. He heard from the elders of the Gu clan that Gu Fei was a Xun strong man. Don't worry, although the strange fire here is gone, the teacher still knows a place where strange fire is hidden. That strange fire will be of great help to your cultivation. Seeing Xiao Yan, who was a little discouraged because the strange fire was taken away, Yao Lao encouraged him. His plan was naturally to plan the 14th ranked Fallen Heart Flame. Where to go? Jianan Academy. Isn't that the place where I took a year off before? Now it's been more than 2 years. I don't know if the academy will still accept me. Hearing the place Yao Lao said, Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel guilty. It's okay, with your progress in cultivation, Jianan Academy should not reject you. Yao Lao said confidently, when the time is right, your teacher will take you to get the strange fire. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96 Xun'er. How long has it been since then? And he already has a new love. Ancient world. Ancient Saint Mountains. A huge warship slowly stopped over this endless mountain range. On the bow stood a girl in green. She was wearing a light green dress, and her long black hair was tied up casually, spreading over her slender waist and finally hanging down to her hips. The breeze blew over her black hair, which was ethereal and unworldly. Her beautiful face was rare in the world, and her moving eyes were ethereal, like the deepest starry sky. This girl was Xun'er, who was brought back by Gu Nanhai. At this moment, she had not yet disembarked, but she had attracted a lot of attention from below. Xun'er is back. Xun'er is still so beautiful. Xun'er is still only a Duang. She has not made any progress after this experience outside the ancient world. Xun'er's bloodline is extraordinary. She was delayed by playing around before. If she concentrates on practicing in the future, her achievements will definitely crush you. Humphrey, I don't believe it. Although her bloodline is good, my bloodline is not weak either. Most of the young women in the ancient clan sneered at Xun'er, because Gu Fei was the object of collective secret love of the girls in the ancient clan, and Xun'er not only took Gu Fei away before, but also betrayed Gu Fei in the end. Among the men, many people frowned, but perhaps because of Xun'er's identity as the daughter of the clan leader and her extraordinary beauty, there are still a large number of people defending her. Interestingly, these people who defended Xun'er did not get her good face. After Xun'er came down, she walked straight towards her own mountain courtyard. Xun'er, did you run into Brother Gu Fei when you left the ancient realm this time? Gu Yuniu followed Xun'er to the foot of the mountain in the crowd and asked, it seems to have nothing to do with you, right? Seeing Gu Yuniu, Xun'er, who was already in a bad mood, spoke with a hint of hostility. Are you jealous? I'm jealous. Just because of you? Xun'er raised her head confidently. Don't you know? Before, I heard from the elder sent by the clan to protect Brother Gu Fei that Brother Gu Fei was training outside this time and he brought a young woman with him. The two of them lived together day and night. Gu Yuniu said slowly. Although she was not in a good mood about this matter, she would be very happy if she could anger Xun'er now. Gu Fei lives with a young woman day and night. Hearing this news, Xun'er's heart beat faster for some reason. Next, Gu Yuniu seemed to be gloating and told Xun'er everything she knew about Xiao Yan and Gu Fei. How could this happen? It's only been a year since I separated from him, and he actually has a new lover. How could he do this? Xun'er felt inexplicably uncomfortable, even a little angry, and her eyes were red. Hey, Xun'er, what qualifications do you have to comment on Brother Gu Fei? Seeing Xun'er's reaction, Gu Yuniu's pretty face showed a sneer. Back then, you didn't even separate from Brother Gu Fei, but you did that kind of unfaithful thing. Who are you saying is unfaithful? Hearing Yun'er's harsh words, Xun'er's eyes were full of anger. What? You hit a sore spot. You want to attack me. Do you have the strength to do that? Yun'er stood calmly in place, and met Xun'er's fiery eyes. Her cultivation level, even if it was only 3-starred Huang, was not something Xun'er could defeat now. Don't be so proud. Give me 2 years. I will make you understand how wrong it was to provoke me today. Xun'er clenched her fists and suppressed the anger in her heart. She also realized that her cultivation progress had been delayed for too long. If she continued like this, the gap between her and Gu Fei would become bigger and bigger, and by that time, perhaps she would really become a laughingstock. The next moment, she turned around and walked towards a hall deep in the mountains. The cultivation resources of the ancient clan were far beyond the reach of the outside world. Xun'er planned to go to her father Gu Yuan to get some resources, and prepare to accept the next stage of the baptism of the emperor. In addition to the skills, fighting skills, and elixirs, ancient races like this also have some power inheritance left by their ancestors. When the ancestors of the ancient clan died, they would choose to store their power in the emperor's altar, and the younger generations of the clan could enter the emperor's altar and directly inherit the power of some of their ancestors. The strength of this inheritance varies from person to person. Normally, the purer the bloodline, the higher the benefits of the emperor's altar baptism. Half an hour later, Xun'er stopped in front of an ancient hall. Gu Fei, after you and I separated, you found an ordinary woman like that. Do you think she can be recognized by the clan? Xun'er murmured in her heart, and then slowly stepped into the ancient hall. Shangdan City, in the inn room where Gu Fei and Xiao were. Brother Gu Fei, I finally broke through to Duang. Now I can fly. Xiao stood up from the bathtub soaked in venom, and then a pair of purpled chi wings stretched out from her back. The chi wings gently vibrated and slowly brought her to the air in the room. Very good. You broke through to Duang in less than 2 months of seclusion. I think you can reach Zong in less than 2 years. Seeing Xiaoyan's excitement, Gu Fei also showed a happy smile on his face. During this period, Gu Fei and Xiaoyan have been staying in Shangdan City. Shangdan City is the center of the continent, and the resource storage there is far more than other cities on the continent. In addition to high-level medicinal materials, some powerful poisons are also incomparable to ordinary places. Gu Fei carefully selected many poisons and gave Xiaoyan some pills that could increase her cultivation speed. Naturally, her cultivation level improved by leaps and bounds. 2 years to reach Zong, isn't that too fast? Can I do it? Hearing Gu Fei's encouragement, Xiaoyan was a little unconfident. After all, the higher you go in cultivation, the harder it is. There is a huge gap between Wang and Zong. You have to have confidence in yourself. Now your evil poison body has no hidden dangers. The 2 years I said are actually very conservative. Gu Fei smiled and shook his head. In the original novel, Xiaoyan struggled alone in the Qian Empire. In 3 or 4 years, she grew from a novice in cultivation to a 3-starred Zong. Even ordinary geniuses of ancient races cannot compare to her cultivation talent. Really? Seeing that Gu Fei was so confident in her, Xiaoyan smiled even more. She came to Gu Fei excitedly and leaned her head on his broad chest. How come that girl escaped so quickly? At a certain moment, in the room, Gu Fei, who was hugging little medical fairy tightly, suddenly had a strange expression on his face. Chapter 97 Yan, Brother Gu Fei, I want one too. On the balcony on the 2nd floor of the inn, King Lin and Venerable Dan Hao, an old man and a young man, sat at the table. The little girl asked Venerable Dan Hao some questions about cultivation seriously, and the Lion King stood guard at the stairs like a bodyguard. Mr. Yao, according to what you said, if you hadn't encountered those flame lizardmen back then, would you have become a legendary Shang now? Listening to Venerable Dan Hao telling his past, King Lin couldn't help but ask curiously. It should be possible. Hearing King Lin's question, Venerable Dan Hao hesitated for a moment, and then nodded confidently. It was because of his good talent and rapid cultivation that he thought he could go anywhere in the world, so he continued to go deep into the magma sea, and finally dared to take the risk to try to refine 2 strange fires. That's such a pity. King Lin sighed subconsciously, feeling sorry for Venerable Dan Hao's experience. What a pity. Maybe this is also a kind of fate. Just look at it more openly. At least, I am still alive and well now. Venerable Dan Huo smiled and shook his head. He existed for a long time. His friends and relatives were gone long ago, so he had no other concerns when he followed Gu Fei and his group. At a certain moment, the Lion King, who was sitting at the stairs not far from the two of them, suddenly stood up. "Hey, Lion King, King Lin, and Old Man Yao, long time no see," a very childish voice sounded. Hearing the voice, Venerable Skyfire and King Lin subconsciously looked over there. In the sight of the Lion King, King Lin and the other two, a little girl in purple clothes was sitting on the handrail of the stairs and stretched out her hand to greet them. Seeing the astonishment on the faces of the Lion King and the other two, she smiled and made a face at them. Her cute appearance was very cute. "Sister Yan, I missed you so much." After the astonishment, King Lin showed excitement on her face and ran over happily. This address would be very surprising to others. After all, King Lin was half a head taller than Yan. "This little guy is here, and the days ahead will be very lively again." Skyfire Venerable stroked his beard and said with a smile. At the same time, Gu Fei and Xiao also walked out of the room and looked over here. Gu Fei looked at Yan, who looked as cute as before. "Why don't you stay in the clan?" Gu Fei walked up and touched Yan's head, smiling and asking. "I escaped. Hee. I heard from Brother Gu Fei that you would come to Shangdan City, so I ran here. I thought it would be troublesome to find you, but I didn't expect that I knew you lived here." After asking casually, Yan smiled like a little fox, and her eyes narrowed into crescents. "I'm so pitiful. After I go back, there will be no delicious pills anymore. And every day, those hateful guys have to force me to eat some disgusting things that are so unpalatable that I want to die." Then, Yan grabbed Gu Fei's sleeve and complained, and her big watery eyes immediately became watery. Her life during this period was too miserable in her opinion. She felt that compared with the life she had with Gu Fei before, it was simply a hellish life. So, as soon as she had a chance, she would quickly find an opportunity to slip away from ancient Dragon Island. "Sister Yan, you are so miserable. It seems that your people don't treat you well." King Lin stood up for Yan. "Yes, they are too bad." Yan nodded fiercely. It seems that she hated her people's treatment of her like that. However, if her people knew about it, they would probably be so angry that they would vomit blood. Gu Fei shook his head helplessly. He knew Yan's temper. Everything would be magnified many times in her mouth. Therefore, her words were not credible. The things that the ancient dragon clan gave her should be some tonic elixirs. At least, this girl is now quite lively. "Yan, what are your plans next?" asked the little medical fairy. "Next, of course, I will follow Xiaoyan's sister and the others." Hearing this, Yan couldn't help but grin, and then spoke very seriously. "Hey, Xiaoyan's sister, when did you break through to Duang?" Suddenly, Yan seemed to have discovered something incredible, and her face was full of surprise. "I just broke through." "This is too fast." "I know, it must be during this period that Brother Gu Fei gave Xiaoyan's sister a lot of tonics." Yan's eyes turned to Gu Fei, and she stretched out her hands and said eagerly, "Brother Gu Fei, I want some too." "No." Hearing this, Gu Fei shook his head and slapped Yan's outstretched hands away. "Don't you take enough spiritual medicine? You take it every day, but you don't seem to digest it. Be careful that it will suddenly explode one day, and then it will be uncomfortable." After being lectured by Gu Fei, Yan seemed a little aggrieved and pouted. "Sister Yan, don't be unhappy. I have some pills here. Do you want to eat them?" Seeing Yan like this, King Lin came over, pulled Yan's little hand, and stuffed a handful of pills into her palm. "Woo, King Lin, you are still good to me." The aggrieved expression on Yan's face disappeared instantly. She smiled and praised King Lin, then stuffed a pill into her mouth and chewed it. Most of these pills are 4th grade, used to assist in cultivation. The pills are so strong that King Lin can only take one every 5 days. But Yan, it's like eating candy beans, one after another. Seeing this scene, Gu Fei and Xiao looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. "Sister Yan, eat slowly." King Lin was stunned. Fortunately, Yan has an extraordinary physique. If an ordinary person did this, he would probably burst his stomach. In the next few days, with the arrival of Yan, Gu's small group was much more lively than before. One day, Yan came to Gu's room again and asked Gu to give her pills to eat. Yan, if you want to eat more pills, I'll give you a task. Gu made a request. What task? Hearing this, Yan felt a little guilty. Don't be afraid, this is not difficult for you. Gu stretched out his hand and put it on Yan's thin shoulder, and said with a smile, there is a dilapidated space in Dan Tower that has not been maintained for a long time. I need you to take me in there. Just enter a dilapidated space. This is easy, leave it to me. Hearing this, Yan immediately patted her chest and acted very confident. She has done this kind of thing many times before. In the inner courtyard, those medicinal material warehouses were all sealed with space, but she often sneaked in and ate without anyone noticing. Those space seals were useless to her. Danji was a space created by a dashing strongman in Dan Tower a long time ago, but later, due to some reasons, the Dan realm gradually fell into ruin. However, that Dan realm was definitely a treasure land that countless alchemists dreamed of. There were countless natural treasures and many rare medicinal materials that were hard to find in the outside world. Of course, with the resources that Gu had, he was not short of those precious medicinal materials. What he was looking at was the Earth Core Jade Mother in the Dan realm, or more precisely, the Earth Core Soul Essence nurtured in the Earth Core Jade Mother. To explain, this book is more of a daily life series, and it will not be like the general Dupo fan fiction that can write several chapters about refining strange fire, if not necessary. Generally that kind of plot is just a few words. After all, to write that kind of process, most of the words are copied from the original work. Chapter 98, No Need to Steal, Someone Will Honor You. This is a desolate plain, with a yellowish earth color all over the vast land. Occasionally, there are some green shades, releasing a little bit of vitality and vigor. On this plain, occasionally, some small monsters will burst out, bringing a wisp of yellow smoke, and then disappear in the distance. The silence of the desolate plain lasted for a while, and the void space suddenly squirmed. Then, two figures, one tall and one short, flashed out of the space. The two figures that flashed out of the space were naturally Gu and Yan. Is this the Dan realm? Gu's figure was suspended in the air, and his eyes swept around. He just happened to be able to see the outline of some mountains at the end of the plain. He found that the energy here was much richer than that of the outside world, but it was full of a violent factor that was not conducive to human absorption. Beside Gu, Yan was looking around with a curious look. Yan, it's up to you to perform next. Gu winked at Yan. Okay. Yan smiled, then closed her eyes and began to sense. Her ability to sense some spiritual objects in the world far exceeded that of ordinary people. This was also the most important reason why Gu wanted to bring her to the Dan realm to search for treasures. I sensed 6 places. The spiritual medicines in those places should be pretty good. After a moment, Yan opened her eyes and pointed out a few special places to Gu. With Gu's current speed, it would not take too long to travel through the entire Dan realm. Finding 6 nearby places was naturally not a problem. An hour later, Gu brought Yan to the 6th place she had sensed before, which might contain natural treasures. Strange, there is not even a green leaf here. Could it be growing underground? Arriving here, Yan was a little confused, and her figure slowly flew along the ground. Be careful. Gu sensed something strange as soon as he arrived here, and quickly warned Yan. At this moment, a huge python of more than 10 feet in length sprang out like lightning from the ground that looked like a sand dune, and its ferocious bloody mouth bit directly at Yan's head. Looking for death. Seeing this scene, Gu clenched his palm towards the huge python, and the head of the python exploded as if it was under great pressure, and then the whole body fell to the ground. Damn, ugly legless creature, you actually want to bite me? Yan angrily kicked the remaining headless body of the python. She was very strong, and with a light kick, she kicked the huge body of the python away. At the same time that Yan said that, Gu suddenly felt some unusual movements from the colorful little snake in his sleeve. It seems that Yan's words have offended Queen Medusa invisibly. Gu held back a smile and did not speak. As the giant python flew away, a sunken pit suddenly appeared under the sand dune. In the pit, There was a dark yellow rhizome as big as a child's head. Sure enough, it's hidden underground. This thing seems to be Rehmannia glutinosa, and it should be of a high age. Yan muttered as she put away the dark yellow rhizome-like thing the size of a human head. Although she had not seriously studied any knowledge of medicinal materials, she had eaten so many medicinal materials that she knew some of them. Yan, get out of the way first. Gu Fei gestured to Yan to leave the place. Although the 1,000-year-old Rehmannia essence was precious, it was not enough to attract Gu Fei's attention. What he was really interested in was something deeper. Rehmannia essence was born from the condensation of the steady and heavy power of the pure earth, but this statement also had its limitations. If Rehmannia essence grows to 100 years old, it will not grow in size at all due to the saturation of energy. It is for this reason that Rehmannia essence over 100 years old is so rare. It is recorded in ancient books that if Rehmannia essence can live far more than 100 years, then what nourishes its growth must not be the power of the earth, but other spiritual objects of heaven and earth. Therefore, this 1,000-year-old Rehmannia essence must have a rare treasure underneath. It should be right. After Yan left, Gu Fei suddenly aimed his palm at the position of the earth pit, and a huge suction force emerged, sucking the soil out continuously. Soon, a deep hole several dozen meters deep was sucked out of the ground below, and a snow-white jade gradually emerged. What is this? Looking at the snow-white jade sucked out from the ground by Gu Fei, Yan's eyes lit up and she quickly came over to ask, "This thing is not for eating." Gu Fei knocked Yan. The thing in his hand was the earth core jade mother, a magical jade that was formed by the power of the earth for countless years. When practicing or refining pills, having a cushion made of earth core jade mother will have a very significant effect of suppressing the violent energy in the body, and it is not easy to go crazy. It's quite heavy. Gu Fei looked at the jade, which was about half a foot high and as wide as an arm. This size of earth core jade mother is almost impossible to see in the outside world. The next moment, Gu Fei's attention was focused on the viscous liquid oozing out of the jade. "Brother Gu Fei, what are these liquids? They should be edible, right?" Yan also noticed this. In her opinion, the crystal clear and sticky liquid must be very delicious. "If you want to eat medicinal herbs, I will let you eat enough later. Do you see that mountain range over there? There are countless medicinal herbs in it. Most of them are packed and collected by an 8th level magic beast. You don't even have to look for them." "Really?" Gu Fei helplessly pointed to the majestic mountains in the distance. At the same time, a fire blade condensed by strange fire appeared in his hand. The fire blade lightly cut across the surface of the earth's core jade mother. A piece of jade about the thickness of a thumb fell off, revealing a walnut-sized hole in it. In the hole, there were faint streams of light white mist seeping out. Gu Fei took a deep breath and immediately felt a silent and comfortable groan from the depths of his soul. Swish, swish. Next, Gu Fei's hand turned into a fire knife, dancing rapidly like lightning, cutting the jade piece. After the earth's jade mother was cut off by about half, a jade pit about the size of a head finally appeared in Gu Fei's sight, and at this moment, his gaze instantly solidified on the white liquid in the jade pit that was less than half a finger deep. It is indeed the earth's soul essence. Looking at the viscous white liquid, Gu Fei showed a smile on his face. After working hard for such a short time, he finally found it. The earth's soul essence is an extremely rare treasure of heaven and earth, because it can forge the soul. Even for Gu Fei's spiritual realm soul, it can have a very good soul forging effect. "Brother Gu Fei, when are we going to steal the medicine warehouse of the 8th level magic beast?" Yan's attention was all on what Gu Fei said just now, because the other party was an 8th level magic beast, and she didn't dare to go alone. "Don't worry, there is no need to be sneaky this time. When we get there, the 8th level magic beast will actively honor you." Chapter 99, Soul Tempering, Mid-Spiritual Realm. "Who will honor me?" Yan's forehead was full of question marks. "You'll know when you get there." Gu Fei didn't explain too much. After he put away the earth's soul essence, he took Yan to the huge mountain in the distance. The earth's soul essence will be more effective when used in combination with other medicinal herbs. Gu Fei still lacks a few medicinal herbs to mix the earth's soul essence, and those medicinal herbs can be found in the treasure house of the monsters that dominate the mountain. After a while, The outline of a huge mountain range appeared in front of the two people's sight. The Wanyao mountain range is like a giant dragon winding around. The air in the middle of the mountain range is filled with thick fog. These fogs are not natural fogs, but are condensed by a rich energy. In the depths of this mountain range, there are continuous and undulating beast roars, and the roars are filled with a violent aura. With Gu's speed, even if the monsters find them, they can't catch up. In this way, they went all the way north. Finally, they came to the top of the highest and most majestic peak in the Wanyao mountain range. Dare to trespass into my Zhongzhan's territory, I want to see who is so bold. Just as the two reached the top of the mountain, a violent voice suddenly sounded from the sky. Immediately, a sturdy figure stepped out from the twisted space and stood in front of Gu Fei and the others like an iron tower. When this sturdy figure appeared, a vast, steady, and heavy aura suddenly surged out of his body. This burly man is the overlord of the Wanyao mountain range, the 8th level magic beast, Zhongzhan. His body is a dragon bear. Dragon bears, this kind of fierce magic beast, is rarely seen nowadays, because it is also an ancient beast, and there is some dragon blood in its body, and its strength is extraordinary. Big guy, what are you yelling about? Seeing this burly man, Yan changed her usual behavior, because she was afraid of some 7th level high-level magic beasts before, but now, facing this 8th level magic beast, she seems to not take it seriously. As she spoke, a bright purple light flashed across Yan's watery eyes. The purple light was different from the previous ones. It looked like a dragon. This is the real dragon blood. Zhongzhan's strong and broad body trembled when he saw the dragon-shaped purple light. A kind of pressure from the blood made him almost have the impulse of boiling blood. Little ant, Zhongzhan just offended me. The originally majestic Zhongzhan now showed flattery on his face and tried to please him. At this moment, Yan finally understood the meaning of Gu's words before. Big guy, what delicious food you have here, take it all out. Yan said straight to the point. At this moment, Yan was very proud. This was one of her few highlights. Little ant, I will go and catch 2 7th level monsters for you to replenish your body. Hearing this, Zhongzhan nodded repeatedly. I don't eat meat, I want to eat spiritual medicine. Yan quickly stopped Zhongzhan. Spiritual medicine, good, I have plenty here. Zhongzhan smiled and took Gu Fei and Yan to the huge stone hall on the top of the mountain. At the door of the stone hall, there were 2 fierce monsters lying on the ground. Go play. Yan took the lead and waved her little hand casually. The 2 seemingly fierce high-level monsters whimpered and then quickly retreated far away with their tails between their legs. On Yan, they felt a sense of oppression from their blood, which made them have no intention of resisting, and such performance also made Yan's face more proud. This time, she was finally able to show off in front of Gu Fei. She looked back at Gu Fei and blinked, as if to say, look, I'm awesome, I scared them away with just one sentence. Gu Fei also gave her a thumbs up in response. Next, the 2 followed Zhongzhan and walked quickly into the stone hall, passed through several corridors in the stone hall, and then arrived at the spacious square inches the hall. As soon as Gu Fei stepped into the square, a strong and almost sticky medicinal fragrance rushed towards him. There were densely packed medicinal herbs on the square. These things were extremely rare in the outside world. However, here, they were placed here casually like cabbages. Wow, there are too many. Seeing this scene, Yan drooled instantly. She wanted to jump into the square and take a few bites. Yan, don't worry, wait until I find what I need, and you can make it later. Gu Fei hurriedly grabbed Yan. It would be bad if the little greedy ghost ate the medicinal herbs she needed. Okay. Yan suppressed the impulse. She was still counting on Gu Fei to help her refine pills later. After all, these medicinal herbs, if they were really eaten raw, they didn't taste very good. Do you mind if I take some of the medicinal herbs? Gu Fei turned around, glanced at Zhongzhan, and asked with a smile, don't mind, little brother, please feel free to do as you please. Zhongzhan had already felt Gu Fei's cultivation before, and Yan was completely obedient to Gu Fei, so Zhongzhan was also very polite to Gu Fei. Thank you. Gu Fei smiled, and then entered the square to look for the necessary medicinal materials. What he needed most was a medicinal material called Tanmafeishi essence. This thing was the key thing that Gu used to reconcile the Earth Soul. Although there were many medicinal materials on the square and they were very mixed, with Gu's ability, he still quickly found a piece of Tanmafeishi essence. "I've picked it," Gu waved to Yan. As soon as he finished speaking, Yan jumped onto the square and picked up a golden fruit and ate it wildly. The hard golden fruit was difficult to cut with ordinary swords, but Yan's row of teeth easily bit it open. "You eat first, I'll go do something." Gu asked Zhongzhan for a stone room and began to try to reconcile the Earth Soul. Now that the materials have been gathered, refining is not a difficult task, especially for Gu, who has been promoted to an 8th grade alchemist. In just 1 hour, 3 bottles of well-prepared Earth Soul essence were placed in front of Gu. Gu's efficiency is undoubtedly much higher than that of Brother Lucky in the original book, and the Earth Soul essence is basically not wasted. "I wonder how much my soul power can be enhanced by drinking you." Gu did not hesitate, and directly picked up one of the jade bottles and poured it into his mouth. At the moment when the Earth Soul essence was poured into his body, Gu's head suddenly buzzed, and the soul power at the center of his eyebrow suddenly expanded at this moment, as if it had eaten a catalyst. The rapid expansion caused Gu's eyebrows to have a slight swelling and pain. A terrifyingly powerful strange energy is rapidly seeping into the soul. At the same time, the strength of Gu's soul seems to have eaten something tonic, and it began to increase suddenly. Chapter 100 Yan advances. The Queen transforms. "It's been 5 days. Why hasn't Brother Gu come out yet?" In the stone hall, Yan sat cross-legged on the chair that originally belonged to Zhongzhan. Since Gu went into seclusion, she has been counting the time. She is almost tired of those herbs. Sometimes when she encounters herbs that taste bad, she just takes a bite and throws them away. As time goes by, Yan speaks less and doesn't order Zhongzhan around much. Gradually, her face becomes unusually ruddy and her body becomes as hot as a furnace. "My little aunt, what's wrong with you? Did you eat too much and can't digest it?" Yan's changes made Zhongzhan a little anxious, but he didn't understand them. Just when Zhongzhan was hesitating whether to call Gu out of seclusion, Yan suddenly fell into a deep sleep. While she was sleeping, a rich purple light gushed out of her body. Finally, it turned into a purple light cocoon several meters long and wide, wrapping her whole body. At this moment, an invisible wave that was invisible to the naked eye passed through the wall of the hall and spread over the sky of the mountain. Boom! As this wave spread out, the sky and earth of the mountain suddenly rioted like a boiling oil pan. The sudden riot of heaven and earth also attracted the attention of all the monsters on the mountain. However, the strange airflow of spiritual energy was too illusory for them, except for a few high-level monsters with extremely strong strength who could faintly perceive it. Other monsters could only look at the world blankly. "What is this?" Zhongzhan was also slightly startled by this sudden change. He glanced around and then stopped at the stone room deep in the stone hall where Gu was in seclusion. A flash of surprise flashed in his eyes. "Is this the so-called spiritual energy?" It is said that only some alchemy masters who have been promoted to the 8th level can absorb this thing. This person's talent is a monster. Zhongzhan's eyes flickered slightly. Although he looked rough, he was quite knowledgeable. After all, the Dan realm was the base camp of the Dan Tower in the past. It was just that it was gradually withdrawn due to its decline. He did not expect that Gu, at such a young age, had broken through to Xun and his soul power had reached a terrifying level. Bang! As Zhongzhan was shocked, a loud and earth-shattering sound suddenly rang out from the stone chamber, and then the extremely hard ceiling of the stone chamber burst open. An invisible light suddenly burst out from it and stayed in the air. A vast soul power swept out like a huge wave. In the distant sky, an invisible light was suspended in the sky. The vast soul power swept out in all directions like a tide with it as the center point. At this moment, in the entire mountain range, except for a few extremely powerful high-level monsters, the rest of the monsters felt an extremely strong soul pressure. Under such a huge soul pressure, their bodies could not help but tremble slightly. At the same time, in the stone room where Gu was in seclusion, a colorful little snake was directly impacted by the soul power and flew out. hitting the stone wall and then falling to the ground. In the flashing light, the colorful little snake instantly turned into an extremely attractive naked figure. This charming beauty with a naked body was Queen Medusa. At this time, she had obviously improved to Zhong's strength, because her original snake tail had turned into two slender white human legs, and the snow-white feet were suspended half an inch above the ground, crystal clear, and not stained with dust. What a strong soul pressure! This person is becoming more and more terrifying. If he continues to grow at this speed, I am afraid I will never catch up in my lifetime. At this moment, Queen Medusa looked at Gu Fei, who was sitting cross-legged with her beautiful eyes, and a trace of murderous intent spread in her heart. She could feel that at this moment, Gu Fei's soul was no longer in the flesh. For her, this was a great opportunity, but at this time, she hesitated. One reason was that she knew how terrifying Gu Fei was because of the close following during this period of time. There was another reason, which even Queen Medusa herself could not say. Queen Medusa's attention was completely on Gu Fei at the moment, so much so that she ignored the fact that she was naked at the moment. Swish! Under the gaze of Queen Medusa, an invisible ball of light passed through the stone wall and suddenly shot towards Gu Fei's forehead in the stone room. In a flash, it disappeared. The invisible ball of light was Gu Fei's soul. At this moment, when the soul entered Gu Fei's eyebrows again, his body trembled slightly. The pervasive soul pressure also dissipated at this moment. Gu Fei's dark eyes finally regained consciousness again. However, he had just woken up, and an extremely erotic scene appeared in his sight. Queen Medusa stood naked 3 meters in front of him. The ups and downs of the snow-white mountains, the jade-like white skin, enchanting face, each of them greatly stimulated Gu Fei's nerves. Before, Queen Medusa had appeared naked in front of Gu Fei, but at that time Queen Medusa had not yet transformed, and the existence of a snake tail allowed Gu Fei to suppress his restlessness. This time, the sexy snake tail turned into a jade foot, and Gu Fei's heart was hotter than before, and his breathing unconsciously became heavier. What do you want to do? Seeing Gu Fei's eyes, Queen Medusa realized her own situation, and her enchanting face suddenly became more embarrassed. She waved her hand, and the fighting energy instantly formed a red gauze skirt on her body. What do I want to do? Didn't you stand in front of me naked just now to seduce me? You are not so inferior that you think your naked body has no attraction to a man, right? After Queen Medusa's body was covered, Gu Fei also regained some reason and asked Queen Medusa with a smile. Nonsense, I will not seduce you, and, Queen Medusa decisively denied Gu Fei's first sentence. However, when she was about to answer the second sentence, she suddenly realized that something was wrong and quickly swallowed the words that were about to come out of her mouth. Just now, the sky-swallowing python was briefly stunned by your soul pressure. I suddenly appeared and forgot about all that for a while. Queen Medusa calmed down for a moment and explained in a low voice. At this moment, her face was extremely hot, more attractive than usual, as if she felt that something unexpected would happen if she continued like this. She slowly squatted down, and in the colorful light, Queen Medusa once again turned into a colorful little snake. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.